Good evening. Welcome to this week's Midweek Geek. I am joined tonight by a couple of familiar faces and familiar voices. We have Saxius
Hello.
and Intellectual Quandary, Iman.
How we doing?
And I am, of course, the old geek, or John, to those who know me better. It's a little bit quiet in chat at the moment. There is an big England football game going on at the moment. If you do find me a little distracted, it's because I have a little window open here and Iman's got his telly on.
And I also, you can see the flashes in the background. Yeah.
So sorry, Saxius. As Denmark were knocked out earlier in the tournament, I know you don't care anyway. But
I could not give a damn. I don't care for sports. Sorry, that's a quick correction. The only sport I care about is rugby, and even then I don't go out of my way to actually watch it.
Well, fair enough. Good sport, though. Good sport.
Yeah.
We used to play it at school.
Yeah, it was that of fencing, so I think I picked it all right.
So hello, chat.
Yeah, I was always
hello,
one of those
Connor.
guys that I'm tougher than I look because I'm small.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The cricket is indeed good. Hello, Halakar. Hello, Richard. Hello, Mercurius. And hello, Andy. How are you doing, fellas? Salutations and felicitations, Mercurius. Salutates et felicitates.
Because I'm on
Something
laptop,
like
I
that.
can't turn myself upside down.
So, chaps, recent gaming.
Yeah. I had my second edition game, which had the players be visited by the taxman. This was something I prepared like a year in advance, or like year and a half in advance, when the players originally foiled the Yonti. I basically put it down that they were now going to try and do a proxy combat against them. And I rolled very well for them to basically do a bunch of forgeries and lay a trail that was supposed to lead to the players. The problem was that when I then did the subsequent rolls for the priest of taxes and gold, they didn't do that well. So throughout the end game, like that taxman that IRS guy has basically been like moving around like the place, just never getting to where he should have been, and catching like the worst, hints and not really getting around. So, yeah, that was fun. So the players are genuinely sort of thinking like there's a plot out together. Someone wants us to be framed. Someone wants us to commit tax fraud in our name, and it's like no, the entire quest line is already completed. The guy is just late. He hasn't turned up to get his XP yet. It's like that is the entire thing.
Yeah. It's just the taxman has arrived and it's time for your tax returns. Here you go.
No,
Fill
it's not even
these
that.
out in
Like,
duplicate.
yeah, it was just the whole case of like they've done everything right. It's just like this guy he's off on like a wild goose chase, and everything was legit. It's taking him forever to get there. And one player has actually made use of his divination sphere, and has basically been casting out a divination of like, what's going on? Give us some hints, and I'm just going to be telling back like the guy has completed his task. He just doesn't know it yet. That's it. So like they just need to basically send him back to where he started, and that will be it. Surprisingly easy, but I know my players. They don't believe it easy. They think everything is complicated and difficult.
Because it's one of your games. Normally things are, right?
No, like this is one of my games, but like it's just been rolled up, and like the entire plot line that was supposed to happen has kind of like petered itself out. It's just that NPC is late, so they just need to basically like turn him around and send him away. That's it. Surprise them with something easy. They won't believe it. It's the most evil thing I can think of at the moment. It's just like just something easy. Like they won't believe it's like a door. The players will spend hours arguing over how to open the door. And outside of that, I had a 5th edition game where I had players genuinely terrified by fighting level 1 monsters.
Good.
Yes. So there were, out of a team of 5, one guy got the dates mixed up and forgot to show up. Whatever, I'm not going to hold up against him. So it was 4 players against 7 scarecrows. Now, in 5th edition, scarecrows have the ability that on their turn, they can look at you and you have to roll a wisdom save, or you are paralyzed with fear. Not that difficult. But all you need to do is just to fail 1 saving throw. And the 2 attacks that the scarecrows can now do against you all become automatic hits and automatic crits.
Oh.
Yes. Now, this suddenly became very scary when you had like, oh, it's now the scarecrow's turn. Fear check, fear check, fear check, fear check. And the front line, just 1 player immediately paralyzed, got pounced by a by a scarecrow. And I went into details about how they were trying to eat him alive. Another player then got in there, survived a couple of rounds, and then he got paralyzed. He was then bounced by 2 scarecrows who basically ripped him from, I think it's like 38 hit points down to like -7. So he was knocked out. I got so overeager that I forgot to do a quick attack against the downed player. So I could actually have killed 1 player, but I was thirsty for blood because the paladin was right there. And if I could break their line, I would have the wizards would be open game, and I wanted that blood.
You didn't want death; you wanted suffering.
I wanted to hear the screams of weak wizards as they were being approached by malicious scarecrows. I wanted to have that. I mean, it got to the point of where the players were using video game cheese logic, where they would be doing things like, if I pull out this table and I stand on it, I am above them. I should get advantage upon my attacks because I have the high ground, Anakin. I was like, yes, this is the level of fear I want. This is appropriate. You should be looking desperately for anything to get a bonus. That was a good game. That was a very good game. Oh, the players were terrified. It was great. I could have gotten a character death, but I was greedy. I'll do better next time. I'm excited for that.
Hello, Kabuki. Nice to see you. Halakar's being drenched by the fringes of Hurricane Beryl. I keep hearing about this Hurricane Beryl. Now, over here, the name Beryl is typically associated with little old ladies. And I know it's a serious hurricane, but I just can't take it seriously with that name. I just can't. Just imagine some little old lady out there with swinging a handbag around going, Rah! I know it's a bit worse.
It's not just you then. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Because me as well, I thought the same thing.
It must be a British thing because I was actually just thinking, okay, it's a hurricane. It's named Beryl. There you go.
Are they not named after the people who like discovered them or something?
No,
it's
a classification thing, and it's usually.
I know they go alphabetically.
Alphabetically, and alternately male, female, male, female, male, female, and they just give them names. Yeah. Andy, banging on about his porridge. I'll come to that in a bit when we review last night's game. And the history of cornflakes, yes, that's Mr. Kellogg, and yes, he was a little bit of a loony. It's fair to say. So Iman,
yes,
you played a game with me last night, didn't you? And you've got a game coming up this weekend with Saxius.
Yes, on Friday, so I'll be missing the Choose Your Own Adventure stream, unfortunately.
You're playing Heroic, aren't you, with Saxius?
Yes, I don't know how well I'll be playing it, but I'll definitely be trying.
Well, be sure to feed that back to us.
Yes.
So how did last night's Call of Cthulhu go?
Oh, well, do you know what? I actually think it was pretty good, all things considered. It was a bit, I don't know. I feel like there was more role-playing than dice rolling, which is it's not always that way, but I definitely felt like we all got a chance to really get into character without the dice rolling needing to, you know what I mean?
Yes.
So
we had a few dice rolls, but not many.
I didn't pass my revenge arc. So basically, when my character right now first got introduced to the plot, he ended up getting stamped on straight away and ended up having a major wound for ages. Because basically what I did was I avoided a gunshot by dodging, and I ended up prone on the floor, and then the next guy stamped on me. So then when one of the enemies dodged and ended up on the floor, I was like, right, I can complete my revenge arc. But of course I didn't pass the roll.
No. So yeah, you and if someone's going to stamp on your groin and get an extreme success, it's going to be straight in the nuts, isn't it? And that's what your major wound was. Severe nut pain. And speaking of severe nut pain, we have Bear. Hello. How are you?
There's a lovely segue. I can't talk much due to the
He's lurking.
on my tongue.
He's appeared, but we can't hear him.
No, I can hear him. He's just very quiet.
Yeah, sorry. I can't talk much due to the injury on my tongue, but I did want to participate.
There's an injury on your tongue?
Yes. And it sucks. And every time I talk, it hits a tooth, and then it makes me go, ow. And then it doesn't heal.
Oh.
But I think if I can nope. Very little talk. Go ahead, talk to others. I'll jump in where I can.
Okay. Well, I know the tongue is meant to heal faster than any other part of the human body, so...
Is that so?
Fingers crossed.
I have no idea where you get that information from.
Yeah, I think the all around the mouth and the tongue heals faster.
All right.
Okay. I'll believe you.
So there's yeah, there you go. Kabuki backs it up. Yeah, the tongue does heal quickly.
All right, moving on.
Yeah.
Imam, are you afraid for how heroic might turn out? And that's a no. Never mind. Are you going to continue on?
He's run away. Yes. Yeah. We played Call of Cthulhu last night, and I broke a rule of Call of Cthulhu in that we have a character who is at 0 sanity.
Okay.
But I'm letting the player continue to play him.
Why?
And have him not make sense and just be an absolute loon and drive everybody up the wall.
Okay.
I respect that.
Only for a short time. I mean, he's going to be written out very soon. But yes, poor Harold. Yes, he was very nervous that the people on the Orient Express might serve porridge, because there's some association with porridge with bad things in his head. Aspects of the dream that sent him mad. The food of the cultist. Yes, yeah. He believes this battling old couple on the train who are just bickering with each other are out to skin them. It's just all little things like that.
That nice, friendly old couple. You know, who the elderly woman's got her husband's balls twisted in a vice.
Yeah, basically, yeah. Hello, Squirrel.
A lot of testicular conversation points here tonight.
It does appear that way, doesn't it? It does appear that way.
Am I too low? I can turn up my mic in my settings. Hang on.
Yeah, just a little bit if you would.
Yeah, mind. A little bit would be good, yeah.
Okay, everybody relax. Jesus. Swear.
Andy says, I think the porridge may be all that's left in his head.
It's Andy who's playing that character. You're a little bit louder.
Better?
A little bit.
How's that now?
A bit better.
Yeah. Anything I can do here.
How about that? Is that better?
That's better.
Yep.
There we go. Okay.
You're still quiet, but they're not straining to hear you now.
But what if I whisper?
That's better.
ASMR.
But no, they've in the Call of Cthulhu campaign, they were heading towards Belgrade, and unfortunately, the train has been delayed in Vinkovci, in Croatia, due to a separatist group bombing the railway line. So they're sort of stuck in Vinkovci. And of course, there's things going on there which they're finding out about. And yeah, it was interesting. It was interesting.
It must be bad when the place we're staying has more detail than the city map.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you can sort of metagame it slightly in that sense, but hey, well, let's see what happens. We're talking about myth and legend tonight, and on a Monday, I was playing in Odyssey of the Dragon Lords, which is a third-party 5th edition campaign, which is loosely based on Greek mythology. I say loosely because it sort of falls apart a bit due to the 5th edition influence and the fact that you can still play
Forkers.
You can still play all the crazy 5th edition races in there, and though the campaign itself doesn't push them, instead it pushes in things like centaurs and satyrs and those sort of races as playable. And they got, I bet the general theme of it, the theme of it is pretty tight in terms of bringing in aspects of Greek mythology, which is quite good. And Saturday we played some MERP, and the party are well and truly entrenched in Tharbad now, and they're starting to get important people to notice them, which means they're starting to be expected to do slightly more dangerous things to help the city. Well, they've got a good reputation amongst the good-leaning members of the city, because they're trying to get the attention of the Prince of Tharbad, the leader of Tharbad. They're trying to get audience with him. So they need to be recommended. So they need to get attention of the various judges and legal eagles and guild masters and people like that are the nuts and bolts of the upper tier of society in the city. So they're starting to work for a couple of people who've got a degree of importance. But that, of course, means the bad people are more likely to notice them a little bit, take them a little bit more seriously. So again, that was a heavy roleplay session.
A bit more, don't they?
Yeah. It was another heavy roleplay session, and my Monday game was a heavy roleplay session. So it's all been heavy roleplay sessions for me recently.
I was quite happy with how yesterday's session went. I feel like I got a chance to flex my chops, which I've been obviously training for the past however many months.
Yep. Yes, and Andy's character in Call of Cthulhu believes that the Croatian police are protecting them from cultists. Because, yeah, he knows, yes.
Yeah, he thinks perfectly reasonable, logical thoughts, doesn't he? Like porridge is the food of the cultists, and that the elderly couple must definitely be cultists.
Yeah. It's always been. Let's see where Harold goes to an asylum soon, but we shall see.
What about Jerome?
You don't know what's wrong with Jerome, do you?
No, just administered a medication. Well, a doctor said he was afflicted with sleeping sickness.
Yeah. Of course, that's what a doctor thinks, isn't it? Because he's asleep and he won't wake up.
So he gave me some medicine, which I have no idea what it says because it's in Serbo-Croat, but yes.
Yep. Such are the issues.
But I was like, right, yep, doctor said this, right, yep, here, have this.
Right, yep. So, Saxius, this was a you topic tonight.
Yeah.
And this was incorporating the myths and legends of our world into our gaming.
Yep, because I steal liberally from the Norse mythology, and I don't exactly hide it. I love making a lot of the giants to be inspired by the Nordic Jotuns, taking inspiration from the various backgrounds of the giants, their origins. I also take inspirations from the Greek mythology and some of the philosophies that you have from the Greek times. I love some of the crossovers that you will then find between, for example, Roman mythology with the Greek mythology. How you will find like things like Woden's or the Germanic beliefs, having almost like this crossover with the Norse, the Celts, along with a lot of the Fae and the woodland spirits, bringing those in and around. It helps breathe in this level of immersion into the
Yes.
worlds. As the players travel around, they will find that there are overlapping cultural and religious things that will sort of merge over, um, which will then sort of basically make the players sort of go like, oh, okay, so you believe this here, but like they believe the same thing, but like over the river here, but like they just call it a different name, and so on and so on. So it helps me sort of take inspirations from the real world, bring them in to my games, and it also cuts out a lot of the work that's needed. So that's what I wanted to sort of base it by. What do we steal from? Whether it's myths, legends, and heck, I would even go so far as to say, I even take from, I like the Cthulian mythology. I wouldn't limit it just to our real world. I'll even take from like the literatures of other worlds. Um, the dwarf god of choice that I have picked on ever since I read the book Dwarves, I see Dvaga. Um, that is a god named Rakus, and I just loved the way that he was depicted in this book. And I've decided that from here on out, I will not have Moradin, I will not have any of the other gods. There will only be Rakus, and the whole concept being that every dwarf has a furnace inside of him, which is the beating heart. Every dwarf was carved out of granite, which means that they are strong, stout, and sturdy. It is their belief that they will return to the stone, and that's why they are entombed into crypts, with the idea that their soul is taken back to their god, and then their soul is smelted down into a new ingot, and then they are reformed into a new dwarf that will now be brought forth. Um, and that's I just loved how
That's
that was
like their version of reincarnation.
exactly. But it's the whole idea of like you're recycling metals, and they are metals. They are energy. You recycle it as much as you can. So that was their viewpoint. And I just really fell in love with this idea of like you will not don't disrespect the body. Put him in an entombment for him to be respected. You know the ancestors laid the foundations upon the road which you walk, and they are the pillars upon which you stand. Don't disrespect them for that, but allow their energy to be returned, allow them to be reforged, and allow them to return, and then for you to then carve out your own path in that sense. I just really fell in love with that when it came to the dwarves.
I mean, I was going to say, come back to pretty much the point you made at the right at the very start. There's a familiarity for us with a lot of the popular myths and legends. We will almost certainly have read about the Norse legends, Greek mythology. When we first open a fantasy book, we'll most likely see creatures that we have become familiar with before encountering role-playing games, such as the Minotaur, Medusa, I say giants, dragons, these sort of legendary creatures, which have existing lore.
Mhm.
And one of the hardest parts when creating a world and giving it cohesion is to give it enough lore to really make it sing. Because this existing lore that we have in our real world grew up over thousands of years of people telling stories, embellishing tales, twisting tales, and then eventually putting them down on paper. And these stories have lasted. They've been given more they'd have been given more depth, more detail, more flourishes as time went by. So when all this work has already been done there for us, it makes life a lot easier to take pieces of it.
Mm-hmm.
Creating your own, it can be an absolute minefield. Hello, Daniel, and hello, Straw Piglet. But of course, Bear, I know you're not going to be talking too much, but your Codex Albana game the one we play in, that is a world of your creation.
That's correct.
But
Yes.
I am seeing aspects of medieval Europe baked into that world, and one of the threat, because you've clearly been inspired by medieval Europe when you created it, and in the current storyline we're playing, we're starting to see sort of almost an Arthurian feel to it.
So yeah, one of the things that really sort of drove me was a fatigue with polytheistic fantasy settings.
Right.
I understand them in antiquity. I understand polytheism in the Bronze Age, maybe even into the Iron Age in the less civilized areas. But monotheism is going to become a thing if you're going to keep moving into the Middle Ages. In fact, you won't have a Middle Ages without monotheism because you will never have that unity that will bring everything together. So that's what I set out to do, was take a monotheistic world and see where I could go with it. And as a result, I wound up creating a large number of factions and subgroups from the primary, and that just helped the world building right along perfectly at that point in time, because then I could determine how nations would relate to each other, how peoples would relate to each other, how they see things differently.
You'd have had history to draw on there with the rift with Henry VIII and Catholicism, or you had the Crusades. All of these were monotheistic religions, which ultimately, I don't know if I believe I'm right in saying, Iman, that the idea of it is essentially the same God, but a different way of.
Yeah, it's a different name and a different way of worship, but yeah,
yes,
it is, for argument's sake, yeah.
Well,
which is like what just said.
So in the West, in my setting, Zahirism is the origin point of the monotheism, right? And when I made Zahirism, I wanted to take aspects of Islam and aspects of Judaism and combine them together into one large mystery religion that basically predominates the southern part of the world, or the southern part of this continent, not even this continent, but this area, which is called the Crimson Empire for the most part, which is a massive caliphate, essentially, that would be occupying essentially a piece of territory the size of Africa. But eventually, through trade, its ideas reached the Western world, and after a massive polytheistic collapse, because it is still a fantasy world at the end of the day, there was a plague called the Red Death that swept across the West and basically killed a lot of people. And the old gods were gone, and their old clerics couldn't heal anything, and there was nothing to be done. And then along come these priests who can cure the Red Death, and they're talking about this Pella Arist, this savior, this son of God that has come to make them all better and return God's throne to the world and all this type of stuff. And well, you can imagine how quickly a religion like that will spread in such a dark time. And that's where we find ourselves today, is 500 years later, with it all basically having fractured, and, some of it is reformed and some of it is orthodoxy and some of it is, Catholicism and what have you. And it's really fun. It's a really fun thing. Fuels a lot of the story because it's real. It's not someone's thought. It's real, and it has an effect on the world because it's actual.
I think it makes it easier for us as players to sort of lean into it because it's what we've learned. It's what we've seen. It's what we've read about. It's what we've been taught. And we if I've always said if we can have our feet on the ground when playing the games, as if the world is grounded, then it is much easier to improvise and imagine what is going on, in my opinion.
I agree.
It definitely is for me, yeah, being the one who's newest to the hobby.
Yes. So yeah, I mean, that's something I picked up on when I first read through the because you've put a lot of detail into the world, but straight away it was like, aha, there's Catholicism, there's Protestantism, and so on. I was like, yes, I can see where Bear's got that from, but it's made the world better for me, because my character is an old school Catholic, so.
I wanted to say as well, Bear, you know, we had a little private conversation as a group, the Albana players. That bit where it was me and John and Malachi's characters all like in unison swinging at the three other knights who were like, none shall pass. That's very Dark Ages. I felt it.
Well, yeah, and that's what I'm going for. Is you're specifically. I can't go much longer by that, guys. This is really not fun for
That's
my tongue.
Mm-hmm.
But what you guys are going through is you're dealing with a very specific part of the world where I'm taking all of that Erastianity that I've created, and I'm tying it into this thing called the Pendrick Cycles, which is all very Arthurian at the end of the day. And that's what you guys are going through. You're going through an Arthurian legend, essentially. And I will fucking kill any of you at any point in time, happily. So for all those people who think they have
what about the
armor,
High King? We must save him.
why? His seed has been planted in the Cirrus of Stars.
Perhaps
that garden will result in a High King.
Well, I don't know. He doesn't want to be High King, really, so I don't know.
Anyway, gentlemen, I do have to go because this is killing my tongue.
No worries, Pat.
So thanks for entertaining me for a few minutes. I gave it a try, but the old college fry is saying get off and stop talking. So I'll just chat in the chat. And
okay, no problem.
Take care.
Take care.
But yeah, Straw Piglet says here, he thinks of D&D gods the same, different names for the same beings, and that's
isn't that what the Roman and Greek and Egyptian gods are?
They're not identical. They're not identical, but
No.
the ideas were very, very similar between
They
them.
have a god for a certain thing, and it's called a different thing in each mythology.
Yeah, because I believe it was when Julius Caesar, basically when he was visiting Egypt, and Cleopatra was basically introducing him to all of the different gods. He was just going, but that's Mars to us.
Yeah.
You just call it something else. That's Jupiter to us. And it was just like he just found that there were so many similarities, and as of such, it was easier for them to sort of embrace these things or see these aspects of it, and you can definitely see it between the Greek and Roman ones.
Yes.
But that's also because you had a huge cultural influence between the two of them. The two. I mean, you got to bear in mind, Rome before it was the SPQR, the Roman Republic. There was a lot of conflict with the Greek city-states, and the Greek city-states were not unified, but they did have overlapping interpretations of the various religions. So there was a lot of cross-pollination because of the closeness of the two, and jeez. I am working with children. I am working with children.
Well, you should have heard John on Monday. Apparently, he was just in troll mode.
Yeah, but yes, there was a lot. As I said, there was a lot of cross pollination between them. It's like there was Hades, and then there was Osiris, gods of the underworld. Who was the Roman god of the underworld? Greek was Hades.
I'm going to look it up.
Trying to summon my God of War knowledge, but it ain't working.
I know Hephaestus was Vulcan.
Well, Hephaestus was
Hermes and Mercury.
Yeah, but this is still Greek. So
Yeah.
this pattern is supposed to be the
Pluto.
Pluto. There we go.
Yeah.
Yeah, but this is the theme that you find with the Romans is that the name of the Roman gods is what we gave the name of the planets.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Pluto, you name it. That's where most of it's going to be coming from. So, yeah.
Hello, LSC channel. Watching from the Philippines. Long way away. But you're welcome. Mars, Aries, yes, Roman name. I always leant towards the Greek names personally, but a lot of us, we always think that Poseidon was Neptune and so on, but there were different stories behind them, and they weren't identical, but the generalities were there. Wasn't Apollo called Apollo in both? I think both Greek and Romans had an Apollo.
Yeah, I believe so. Apollo was supposed to be the sun god for Greece. I don't know what he was in the Roman, but I will be perfectly transparent. Like, my Roman knowledge is super limited. I went more for the militaries and geopolitical interest when it came to Rome, rather than their theological. But that's because we hear more about the Greek gods than we do, than I hear about the Roman ones.
Yeah, Apollo is also called Apollo in both.
And we've got Bear in chat also correcting us, going, "Yes, this is right." So it's like, oh, okay, we're just behind.
I mean, I've ever since I was a kid, loved the idea of all the Greek particularly the Greek mythology. That was the first I was really exposed to.
Oh shit, we scored! I missed it.
We've scored. It hasn't come up on the site yet. Hasn't come up on the BBC site yet.
Ladies and gentlemen, you are going to have...
No, he's just onside.
Ladies and gentlemen, you are going to have to get used to this because their country is playing, and these two are fans of football or soccer, as the majority of the audience will know it as. I'm afraid that you're going to have to bear with us.
We're playing the Dutch in the European Championships.
They've ruled it out, bastards.
No, gits.
Sorry.
Anyway, where were we? When I started at what we called secondary school, senior school, whatever you want to call it, high school, at the age of 11, in our first year there, we studied classics. And you think, what's that going to entail? And for us,
year 7.
Yeah, year 7.
Wow.
Yeah, we studied classics, and we read the Iliad and Dido and Aeneas and that sort of stuff.
Okay.
The story of Dido and Aeneas and all. We read through them all, and we learned about Jason and the Argonauts. We learned about Perseus and Medusa and Theseus and the Minotaur and all that sort of stuff actually in school. And when I first encountered D&D, what's that?
Jason and the Argonauts.
Yeah,
I thought that was just a terrible film.
It's part of Greek mythology.
Okay.
Jason was a Greek hero.
Listen, I did not go into Greek mythology. Like, I have not, like, I just know, like, on surface level stuff, I am a Norse guy. I thought Jason and the Argonaut was just a terrible movie that my mother-in-law keeps on insisting is fantastic.
Here in Deities and Demigods, we have stats for Jason.
Again, I wouldn't put it past the creators just putting it in because they're like, oh, it's a fantastic film. It's a film that we like. It's like, okay.
When did the film come out?
I don't know. Look it up.
Well, we learned about the 12 Labors of Hercules and all that. I thoroughly enjoyed that year of doing classics, and that's the year that I first discovered D&D. And I remember opening up D&D monster books and seeing a Medusa and a Minotaur and centaurs, and immediately I had those images, those sort of pictures in my mind, and that was one of the things that really drew me into playing a game like D&D. I just loved all of that, and so much of early D&D. What percentage of monsters in that original monster manual were creatures from mythology, from folklore, all around the world? A high percentage, very high percentage. There were very few that were purely made up by the D&D creators. Very, very few.
That's true. There certainly were very few of them, and they took it liberally, which fair enough. I mean, there's no one really has a claim onto something like that. I mean, it's
quite
mythology is thousands of years old, and the few things that they did make up was, if I remember correctly, from oh god, what is Tim Kask? It was just inspirations that they got from Hong Kong, toys from Hong Kong. Yeah, yes. So that's where they got a lot
Rust
of these
monsters
ideas.
And bullets and things like that.
Owlbears, all these things, like things that are just stupidly fantastical. That's definitely where they got it from. And there was also what's it called? Was like, I believe it was the Beholder. Was the machinations of like a 13-year-old. The very being that so many D&D players fear, like genuinely, they will be like, no, I will not go in there. There's a Beholder. That was the machinations of like some 13-year-old going, wouldn't it be fun if it had like multiple eyes and just went boom boom. It's like, yep, that's exactly it.
Dig into the mind of a child. Yes.
Yeah, but bringing it back to the mythology, and there's so many things you can take from it. And there are so many ideas, and I mean, hell, you mentioned, Hercules and some of his trials and tribulations. How many of those would just be an easy thing for you to turn around and go like, okay, this is now a dedicated adventure. When Hercules has to take on the Hydra in itself, that's an adventure.
Yeah, that's
just
an insurmountable task for anyone apart from him. Yeah.
Yeah, and even just like an average, group of adventurers, or even if they are skilled, like let's say they're all level like 6 and 7, they're still going to be like, okay, we're going to have to prepare for this. Like we're going to have to do tracking, preparations, all of that. There's going to be like 6 to 8 of us. And that's assuming that they're going to be lucky to only come up against a 5-headed Hydra, let alone if it's already got its 10 or 11, heads. If they're unlucky, it'll be all 12 of them.
Is there a reason I always imagine them as having 7?
No. It can be anywhere from like 5 all the way up to 12. Okay. But like every time you cut off a head, like 2 more springs out, at least depending on the variation.
Okay, I thought that was a thing, but I wasn't sure. Yeah.
No, it's a thing. Just go and watch the Disney Hercules.
Wasn't that the Linnean in D&D? That's just the Linnean Hydra, because there's a standard Hydra, isn't there, in D&D? And then there's the Linnean one, which is based on.
Yeah. But there's a number of them. There's also like one that breathes fire. There's another one that
Pyro Hydra.
Yeah, exactly. So you've got a number of them. I've always liked to take the Hydra. I mean, with my Kuotoa, because I love my little fish people. I love taking the Hydra and basically aesthetically changing it so that it's just the deep sea fish that you've got that blobs up with those like algae things at their heads.
The anglerfish.
Yeah, exactly, anglerfish. Have a Hydra, but it's just all anglerfish.
That's terrifying.
Exactly. And then I throw in like a bit of the lore of like the whole thing of like the Kuotoas are just it's just they are the result of like, what if you could force evolution to happen by force breeding, your own community in a certain direction. That just makes the Kuotoa so much more terrifying by me taking this idea of like biology, ramp it up to 11, and then having this whole like myth and legends that I build around them. Where
I think the Kuotoa are largely they are largely based on the Innsmouth look, aren't they? The people, but like and the story of the deep ones beneath the sea.
Yeah. No, that is a pure Lovecraftian one, and there's loads of creatures in D&D that is based off the Lovecraftian mythology.
The Mind Flayer.
I mean, yes, it's inspired by the idea of again, Cthulhu and stuff, but like the Mind Flayers themselves are not Cthulhian. Like aside from just having a squid head, that's about as far as we
and
can
being
go.
alien.
And being alien, but like so are the Githyanki and the
having
Giths.
tentacle appendages.
Yeah, the ones I would really go for would be things like the gibbering mouths, astral
Yes.
beings where it is just this formless blurg of just eyes and mouths, and it's just terrifying. It's you don't know what to do with it. Like, how do you fight this? It's an astral being. But perhaps also bringing it back over to real life stuff. There are a number of other things like the dark elves from Norse mythology is another thing that could be brought over. The dwarves is a very famous one because again, excuse me, you've got the dwarves, all the way from the Germanic stories and all the way over to the Norse. The Norse trolls are a combination of giants and hags, if you want to be specific. Whereas the D&D trolls are more, I think they're more inspired by Celtic or I want to say English, because they're not Norse, they're certainly not Germanic.
I don't know. Does anyone know where the D&D got their which mythology inspired the rubbery regenerating troll of D&D? If you know that in chat, I don't know that. I don't know.
Is it the Billy Goat's Gruff?
Well, yeah, the troll living under the bridge.
Yeah.
No, I mean, yeah, never really talks about the regeneration, but it certainly goes for the whole thing of like, gotta be underneath, can't be in the sunlight for too long, gotta be underneath the bridge, gotta go up and demand my taxes from the goat.
I mean, yes, yeah. They were the taxman of the fairy tales. Yes.
Yeah. Even in fairy tales, the taxmen were vilified.
Yeah, isn't that where the idea of a toll bridge came from?
There we go. They're saying Paul Anderson's 3 Hearts and 3 Lions, so Bear and Coco, both. Yeah. Okay, so that's where that one comes from. But where did Anderson get it from? A lot of these authors drew from mythology. When
I will take the answer we've been given. I don't think we know beyond what we've been shown because I don't know, and I'm not about to go out and dive that in.
His mind. But the word troll, he would have taken, if he used the word troll, he would have taken it from mythology. So all these the Appendix N authors, they would have lent into mythology. A lot of them would have created their own mythology. Fritz Leiber, for example, Lankmar was this bizarrely twisted worlds that had a slight Norse feel to it, to me, but they obviously spun it off in a wilder direction. Hello, Maliki. So,
oh shit! Yes, let's go.
What? Have we scored?
Yeah, we've actually scored this time.
We've actually scored.
Literally in the 90th minute, maybe even 91st.
Sorry, chat. Big football game on. Us versus the Dutch.
I might have to have sound on for this. Hang on.
Are we going to start singing Vindaloo in a bit, Iman?
I remember that.
Yes. Me and my mum and my dad and my gran were off to Waterloo. Me and my mum and my dad and my gran with a bucket of Vindaloo. Nah.
Oh.
Anyway, we were talking about mythology.
It's Ollie Watkins. He just got subbed on as well.
Oh, Villa player. Right. It's England who are playing. It's England playing against the Netherlands in the semi-finals.
2 minutes out of time. I think we've got this, unless they score right now.
The European Championships. For the right to play against Spain in the final this weekend.
Are they any good, Spain, at this?
Spain have been phenomenal this tournament.
Oh, yeah, we're not going to win the final. Spain are going to batter us. But who cares?
All right, fair enough. So, back onto it.
Right, so...
No, 'tis soccer, not American football.
Any specific mythology, stories from mythology that you've used in campaigns or adventures you've written, Zacchaeus?
Oh, that is a good question. I have. Trying to think here. So I have been using some of the old Danish folklore.
D&D 12.
Yeah, I've been using some of the old Danish folklore in terms of hacks, where whenever it is foggy, it's usually because the hags are brewing their potions. So that's something I've usually incorporated in. I have. I've made use of what are they called again? Well, I've always kept a certain thing inside of my campaign, which is the whole idea of if you get the hair of a giant and you are able to basically get enough of it to make a girdle out of it, you will then have a magical girdle of giant strength equal to the hair that you acquired it from, or the giant that you acquired it from. Additionally, I think there's been a few situations of where I've taken from Lovecraftian mythology, where I stole Innsmouth and put it into one of my Shadow of the Demon Lord, where the players they wussed out and they turned around and went, "Fish people, you say? That's a no. We're leaving. We're leaving." No, just no. They saw the population, they stopped, and then just walked through the fields around and walked away. They were like, "We're not dealing with this."
Bulbous eyes and wide mouths and
yeah, the people welcome. We will open the inn for you. It's like, nope, not dealing with this, Oscar. Stop it. We're walking out. Walking over, not dealing with this.
I've played enough Bloodborne to know how this is gonna go. I'm out as well.
Yeah, it's just no, I'm not dealing with this. I'm not having that. I have another Danish mythology. Well, I say it's mythology. It's actually from a French literature. He is known as Oyger the Dane. In Danish, it's Holger Danske. It is a myth that the Danes have basically decided to adopt and basically go, "Yep, this is real. Don't care what history says. This is a real thing." It's not. It is purely fake and made up, but I like it regardless.
I like their conviction.
Oh, absolutely! Let me tell you just how convicted they are. In the city near where I grew up, there's a castle. That castle was used to basically ransom and bully any merchants that wanted to get through and up into the Nordic Sea, basically forcing them to pay taxes to the Danes. But there is a statue beneath this castle of Oyger the Dane, who is said to be this old ancient warrior Viking, who basically said, loved the country so much that he said, after, when Denmark needs me, I shall wake up from my eternal slumber. And the Danes are just convinced, this is a real thing. It's a mythological thing. He's awesome. He's there whenever Denmark needs him. He will wake up. Again, no, he's not real. It's purely something that a French writer wrote. He's purely fictional. There was never a real Viking. It was never a real myth. It's just something we've adopted.
Because it's so awesome that you just wish it was real. Therefore,
yeah, as Elf says, he is the Danish King Arthur.
Elfbait's here. Hello, Elfbait.
Yeah, so that there is a genuine conviction for it. I've taken my wife to see him. My wife was just like, "Okay, what am I meant to do with this?" It's like, "Look upon his splendor." But yeah, I've had things like that where golems will awaken to defend, certain areas because it's been inspired by this myth. And what my current second edition game was meant to have, but the players have skipped it, so I can share it. They were meant to go into an old tomb inspired by where the king was supposed to be like one of the kings who resurrected this kingdom back from the ashes after being gone for 100 years. His wife was then supposed to be standing guard over him, and much like Oigo the Dane, she would only awaken whenever the tomb was being disrupted to protect her lover. And that's a good point, Elfbait.
I have you're not at work, or you're not too busy. Do you want to jump in?
I have on several occasions brought Baba Yaga into my games. Why? Because I have a number of Eastern European players. The moment I bring in, just whispers of that dreaded witch in, they're like, nah.
John, isn't there a Call of Cthulhu version of Baba Yaga?
Probably. Pretty sure there is.
There's also like a D&D module where you go into Baba Yaga's hut and it's just terrifying. Like you can accidentally walk into her bedroom and there will be a pit fiend. There's a percentage chance that there's a pit fiend there. I was like, yeah, no, you don't want to be there. She's terrifying.
So is the Baba Yaga the physical body or the spirit that possesses the body?
In what sense here?
Because there's some, I believe, that it's like the spirit of the Baba Yaga possesses you, and then there's some where it's like an actual old crone.
Baba Yaga, from the myths and lore of Eastern Europe, that is a terrifying witch. She's the kind of witch where it's like she will empty a village of their children, grind up their bones to make her bread, enjoy their flesh, that sort of thing. Like, she is a scary thing. She's not so much a spirit, depending on what the modules are saying, but like if you come across a hut that has a picket fence with skulls on top of them, leave. If you come across a hut that suddenly stands up and has chicken legs, you run. You run. No, like, you laugh now. It's not you. You don't want to be anywhere near that house if it's got legs, because the moment you see that house dancing, you're fucked. That is. Go on.
Have you heard of this legend from You're Wrong here? I'm Farticus. No, he is. She is. No, you are. What? I'll lick you.
Oh.
Saxius is trying not to cringe.
I know, I'm just dying. It was a mistake to run that game for John. It was a mistake to allow this thing to become a reality. It was a mistake to sit there and go, you know what? Yes, all the players can sit and play goblins in this grim, dark world where they are meant to just die like flies and be battered and beaten. And instead, I leaned and I permitted this. I'm as much as fault, but I should have known better. I should have expected nothing but immaturity.
Yeah, it can only go up from there, right?
No, they found new lows. Anyways, good grief. Sometimes I just want to say, sometimes the myth and the mythology is what the players make.
Yes,
and you,
absolutely.
as DMs, you will be surprised at how efficient some of these players can be. And it can be anywhere from, the players going out of the way and saying, okay, so I come from this elven nation, these are our customs, this is what we go in for. It can also be cases of, I want to play this dwarf, but I take these inspirations from Hinduism. I have a while back now, but I've played a one player, one DM, where we were playing as dwarves, but the dwarves were Persians. So we had an entire game where the dwarves behaved as Persians, where we didn't have the idea of alcohol. It was tea. It was tobacco. It was all these things, and very strict sort of views for things. Quite enjoyed that. Made it very different from playing Scots or Germans or Norse.
Silly curly shoes and things like that.
Exactly. Yeah. No, we went quite. Yeah, we did go that far. Like we did have with the spellcasters being referred to as what are they called? Not Jafars, but like viziers. They were referred to the leaders were referred to as a sultan. We gave them all these Persian and Arabian inspirations because that's what we wanted this campaign to be like. We wanted it to be different. And there aren't going to be moments where your players will just build a mythology that you just can't escape, like the Millers and his wife from my Goblin campaign, where John will forever remind me of the absolute shenanigans that he's made historical, and so historical, in fact, that he's now taken the idea that invisibility and the act of being unseen is by taking a chicken and tying it to their head, because that's what he did in my campaign, and he's now bringing it into his own OSE campaigns.
I think it was General Nut who did that first.
I don't care. My point is, you have adopted it, and it's never.
You established a law. Now other people continue it.
Yes.
Hello, Mark Hawkman. Yes, using myths from India since they're not as popular. Yeah, a lot of people, us in the West, won't have heard Indian mythology. And I'd imagine it's just as rich, if not more so, than European mythology. And it's there, it's ripe to be plundered. And you have the added benefit that your players might think that you created it. Hello, Nerdy Yoga.
Unless I'm there, and I'd be like, hang on a minute.
So, yeah, but I mean, Baba Yaga's a classic
Coco's
one.
got a comment there. He says Dragon Magazine's Baba Yaga 1E adventure advises no character under 9th level to even bother.
Yeah,
I haven't read us through the dragons as far as that one yet, so I'm not familiar with it. But
you'll get there eventually.
I will get there eventually. Yes. My own. I mean, I tend to when I run games, I don't often make my own material, I will admit. I tend to take ready written stuff and adapt it. My Caverns of Krampus game that's entirely self-written, but it is inspired by the 12 Days of Christmas. So the inspiration is there already. But I particularly find myself drawn to adventures that have this sort of a bit of a familiarity to them in terms of how they're put together, where I can see legends being used and adapted. One I like, a lot of Call of Cthulhu adventures. One thing I really like about Call of Cthulhu adventures is that a lot of them take real historical events and adapt them in a Cthulhu manner.
Yes.
Or take local myths and legends and adapt them in a Lovecraftian way. For example, the little people of Wales, the Tylwyth Teg, I believe they're called. They feature in one of the Cthulhu Gaslight adventures as these horrible, rapey little fairy things that you don't want to know what happens when they capture humans. They are particularly sadistic little twisted fairy people, but they've taken those from real Welsh mythology, and I love to see that sort of thing. I love to do a little bit of research. You recently, for example, encountered somebody called Winkleman in Horror on the Orient Express, who was based on a real person.
Yeah, and all of his things are like things that he did, or akin to what he did in real life.
Yes, absolutely. But given the Lovecraftian twist,
yes,
he was made out to be a cultist who was now trapped as a ghost, trying to lead you to the object that he was seeking,
so that his soul may finally rest in peace, sort of thing.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Which I don't know if we actually succeeded on that, but I fucking hope so.
Well, yeah. And I see a lot of that in Horror on the Orient Express, because it's going to various places.
Was he the one that's known as the father of archaeology?
I think
was
so.
that someone else?
I think. Well, I know Manfred was talking about it. I think he might have been Johann Winkelmann, and he really was murdered in a hotel or a location in Trieste that was featured in the adventure. So it
could very well be called the father of Hellenic archaeology. It says, yeah.
So it's great to see that sort of thing get brought in. And the idea also in Trieste of the Adriatic wind, the Bora, being produced by Ithaca, which is a Lovecraftian being, but is itself based on the Wendigo. Yes. So you can see all these connections, all these links, and I find those sort of connections, those sort of inspirations, absolutely fascinating.
Well, I thought it was quite interesting because there was more links than there probably should have been, because we're dealing with the skin cult and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So there were probably connections being made as characters and players where there actually wasn't any.
Yeah. Very possibly.
Just because of all the skin stuff that's going on and what we know of the Wendigo from our personal perspectives and stuff like that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But so that's one thing that really draws me into Call of Cthulhu, and
the real life stuff with a unique horror twist.
Look at Reign of Terror.
I wasn't there, but
you weren't there for that one. But that based around real events during the French Revolution, but with a Cthulhu-esque entity involved, and I love how that sort of Lovecraft's mythology is twisted in with his horrific historical events. It's it provides me with that sort of, that sort of familiarity that I need to be able to run a game with any degree of success, because sadly I am devoid of imagination. I am completely devoid of imagination.
Hey, you said it.
My imagination tends to be inspired by real life stuff and mythology I'm familiar with.
Would it be fair to say that it's easier to be creative with things that are already established and you can adapt them rather than creating something from scratch?
Yes. I've always said I'm quite a good DM at improvising conversations and what have you in terms of playing NPCs in the moment, but I'm not particularly great at creating situations in the moment. I like to draw on inspiration for the situations, but I'm quite happy to improvise there and then.
Well, people are unpredictable by nature, so
yes, and situations can be generated by your interactions with the people. I am trying to prompt interactions. I'm trying to prompt situations a lot of the time, and that does happen.
Maybe more so with other players than Yeah,
that's fair. Have anyone here ever gone out of their way to look into new myths and mythologies or legends because I'm working on the assumption, at least between John and myself, we normally go for the safety net, which is medieval Europe. Have you ever gone a bit out and basically done something that you haven't normally done? Like I've tried to do a Persian inspired campaign around with dwarves being effectively Persian and inspired by Arabian mythology, there and that. Because that I found interesting.
Not really. I mean, I am fairly new to Lovecraft. It's something that's only really bitten me in the last decade or so, and I've tried to incorporate Lovecraftian elements into a D&D game, a D&D world, and I would class that as new, really fairly new for me, because I was doing research to incorporate things in there, but I haven't looked into different mythologies around the world. Not proactively. I've done it reactively when thinking, okay, what I've read something, I like that. Did something inspire it? Oh yeah, and then I'll read about what inspired it. So I'm quite reactive. I'm quite reactive rather than proactive, unfortunately. Elfbait's a big fan of Native American myths and legends. Yes.
Yeah. You've got Halakar, who's recently gone out and gotten a bunch of Aztec and Inca mythology. Which, yeah, no, I mean, that is, again, that's good stuff.
Yeah.
You know, it's ripe for things that you want to go for, and it's lovely things like that.
I did a bit of, when I ran Hidden Shrine of Tomoa-chan, I did react to that by looking up quite a lot of sort of the Mesoamerican mythology to see how it all sort of meshed and how it all fitted in. And I was pleasantly surprised at how well that the author of that adventure had adapted parts of it for the adventure.
No, definitely. It's nice. I was like, because
what did you say? You were quite surprised.
Yeah. I was pleasantly surprised. I was, yeah.
As though you weren't expecting it, sort of thing.
It's the level. The only problem with the Hidden Shrine of Tomoa-chan is so much of that really nice detail that the authors have clearly put in. It's for the DM's eyes only.
Right.
And the players don't uncover. The locations, for example, have authentic names and references in them that the players aren't going to notice. It's there for the DM when reading through. Which
so it feels like it's a bit of a waste in that sense.
Sadly, yes, but it's still nice to have there because it does show the amount of love that went into it. Chatter slating Lovecraft. I
mean, I say it with respect. Like, I'm not saying it, just to be a dick. But it is true. Like, some of his work could have done with some amount of proofreading.
Oh, right, yeah.
I think he needed someone to help him with the use of punctuation, because his punctuation is abysmal. He's difficult to read coherently when I'm trying to record. When I'm trying to record his work, when I'm reading it for the channel, that Dr. Seuss adaptation was so easy to read.
Oh yes,
compared to even the short Lovecraft
works. In comparison.
Yes.
He was an odd character in terms of like his philosophies on writing and everything, because you do find that Lovecraft, he did a bunch of writing, but he did it because it was a passion of his, and he didn't want to pursue. Well, he did want a career out of it, but he didn't want to do anything that he didn't. He didn't want to go out from what he wanted to write. And he would also spend a lot of time basically doing like answering like adverts or like people writing things into the into the newspaper, basically being a troll back in the day. So I don't think he was really doing much to enhance his own grammar as this, but there are other people on the internet who's gone into much better depth of what he was like as a character. But yeah, I like the imagination that he brings about. There are certain things for his writing styles that I quite like. How much he keeps on building up using adjectives. That's something I quite enjoy. Because you just keep on getting more and more descriptions, but you don't know what it is. There's no final, like, this is what it's like. It's just like, it was large, bigger than a bus, bigger than this, with eyes bulging out, but covering their entire, body from toe to tentacle. It's like, what the hell is going on?
It's like the more he describes it, the less it makes sense.
Exactly, and that's the part that I like it. So yes, there are things that he would not. What's it called? There are things that would not be very good for a current audience, but I would give some of the same criticism to like when I would pick up like Tolkien Silmarillion. You know, that I just struggle to read because it is a heavy lore, heavy mythology set of books where Tolkien really went ham into like, this is what the world is like. This is the deep end of the entire thing. Which is why, you know, I think that you will find that The Hobbit and the Lord of the Rings trilogy are much more renowned because people have an easier access of reading them. I mean, having...
I've never read the Silmarillion.
You get points for trying. That's that. Listen, you get points for trying. I have tried, I have failed, and I don't hide it. There is just so much going on in that, and it's quite dense. So I decided no. I struggled to read. What was it? Lord of the Rings. I'm trying to reread it now here again, but that was because my English was not, you know, on par where it is now, and. Yeah, but now that I'm rereading it and I'm just actually understanding what's going on, I'm finding it is a super easy read. And as of that, that means that I'm enjoying it a lot more. And it's just a different mindset I'm now going to be approaching with. I will have to give... Hold on a moment.
I read the Hobbit twice, and I listened to an audiobook adaptation. I read most of the Lord of the Rings when I was younger, and I went back recently to listen to an audiobook and got about 3/4 of the way through the Fellowship of the Ring when the playlist disappeared from Spotify.
Fair. Well, I'm going to be trying once again to get through my H.P. Lovecraft, you know, the mythos, you know, the complete mythos from Barnes and Nobles, and at some later stage I'll be trying the Norse mythology one. But there are, I mean, again, if you want to, you know, Barnes and Nobles have got a bunch of the books like this, where they are, you know, Norse, Greek, Roman, Celtic, a whole bunch of these, where they've basically got these out. And this book in itself, that is just the old sagas and the old old testaments that were done. Like, I think even in here, they give credit to Helen A. I'm going to be butchering her last name. Helen A. Gerber, who was I believe it was a German woman who just had a fascination with Norse mythology, and she would spend time just translating a lot of them, and her works pretty much like helped cement a lot of what we understand for modern day, you know, Norse myths and legends.
All right. So we've covered a bit on D&D. We've covered a bit on Cthulhu.
Apologies. Apologies, I had to take a phone call.
That's all right. And it's interesting to see how myth and legend affects other genres as well. I think we did we mention on stream, or was it before the stream? We were mentioning how there are aspects of superheroes that are drawn from legends.
Yes, that was you want to bring up the Norse.
Yes,
Marvel.
Yeah, Marvel got into Norse, and
they did. Yes.
Yeah, and I know you're not very hot on that.
No.
I have to admit that I took a bit of, when I first saw Thor's depiction in Marvel back in the 80s, I had a bit of a double take and thought, that's nothing like Thor I've read about. But the inspiration is there. The inspiration of a powerful, heroic god, great warrior with a massive hammer, and his counterpart, the trickster Loki, trying to undermine him all the time. That was there in Greek Norse mythology. It's there in Marvel. But I think I'm not a fan of the cartoonish adaptations, though, of them, that comic book style.
No,
I have to admit.
yeah, but that's because again, I grew up in Denmark, where we had a very different depiction of what the Norse gods were going to be like. I specifically remember that my teacher in Denmark had a personal love for Norse mythology and would basically take he would make an entire curriculum where we would just go through and we would learn about the Norse gods. We would learn about who Freya was, Odin, Loki, who Tyr was, the guy who sacrificed his hand to Fenris, so on and so on.
That's a proper Thor.
Exactly. Yeah, that's when he's taking on Jormungandr.
That's a proper Thor. One of Roslov's best images.
That's not a Thor. This is a Thor.
But yeah, but again, that's what I grew up with. So I wasn't exposed to Marvel's Thor.
Chris Hemsworth.
Until Chris Hemsworth. That was when that was just like, why are they bringing Thor into Marvel? Like, that seems a bit odd. Like, where is this coming from? And it wasn't until I was then told that, oh yeah, they've been doing this since the 80s. I was like, why? Why have they done this? It was like, okay, it's a bit too late now. But yeah, no, it was different.
Because fuck you, that's why.
Yes. I do remember the Danish Twitter and Facebooks, like they were just like, you call that a Thor? This is a Thor, and they'll be showing like old depictions of Odin, or like some of them just straight up took the picture out of some of them straight up took the picture out of they would take the picture out of like Age of Mythology, the video game. So
yeah, and I do think it's a little bit sad how that sort of image of Thor will be what the modern generation will perceive him as.
It has been tarnished.
Yeah, but we see a lot of that. I'm sure. I'm sure, like technically, like a lot of the Arthurian legends that we're taught today. If we want to stay on topic with the myths and legends, we're not really like the Arthurian legends aren't really going too deep into like a lot of the other things. Like once like the whole like Guinevere and Lancelot sort of thing is sort of evolved, like they don't really go into the details of just how bloody things became afterwards, like how quickly things went downhill and how bad it became, once Camelot actually fell. Like it like that's like period they don't really talk that much about, and it's only for those who actually go out and like read a bit more into it and then find out like Uther Pendragon, Arthur Pendragon's dad, how much he had to do just carve out the land that would become the Pendragon lands, and the years of chaos between Uther dying and Arthur having to grow up, because there was still that period where Arthur was raised away from civilization as all of this was going on before he would then reveal himself and draw out the sword and the stone. A good reference for this is, of course, Pendragon, the role playing game, because they go into these details. They do capture the whole fact that as a part of the myth and the legends, it is that you're going to be knights, but you're going to go through times of turmoil. You're going to go through times where there's uncertainty. When there is no king, when Uther Pendragon's gone, there's savagery.
I think Richard says it. I think it very much depends on sort of like the aesthetic of how you present the myth in the RPG. You've mentioned Pendragon. I think it is a tough, gritty system, but that's the one where you've got like a lineage of family members that you can play throughout the ages, I believe. Mm-hmm. In that one, which I think lends itself well into the myth. I think the general presentation of the RPG, if you're basing your RPG on a legend, mythology that has its roots in the real beliefs of people of a certain age, I think you've got to get the aesthetics right for the age. And Marvel's Thor just does not get that aesthetic right at all. That's the problem for me. He doesn't look like a Viking, how I picture a Viking. Not in any way.
On the other hand, just to play devil's advocate here, it is a comic book.
That's
They've
true.
gone for the comic book look, so
yes, they have. Yeah,
it's just I'm just nitpicking because I look at it and went, ew, don't like it. But that's my opinion. Like, bear this in mind. I am just some lone, sad guy who spends his evenings every Wednesday discussing tabletop games. That's what I do.
Hey, Mark Hawkman, you're wrong's talking about you.
So I mean, I am a bit of an old pedant, and I think D&D's take in Data and the Demigods on with a lot of the depictions, for example, I think it was done with a lot of love. I think it was done with a lot of respect certainly in most instances. It might be that I'm slightly biased because some of these images in Data and the Demigods helped define my image of those heroes, of those legendary creatures, because of course I discovered all of this when I was 11 or 12 years old, and that's the sort of thing that colors your mind from then on. When I think of Medusa, it is Trampier's image from the Monster Manual that springs to mind first and foremost. I mean, I know there'll be images on Greek pottery and whatever, but it's still Trampier's image that jumps into mind, because I think he got the aesthetic absolutely spot on, and I think that's important.
No,
when you do
not yet. Hour and a half yet left yet.
We've got an hour and a half to go, Nerds Nerd. We're still.
I'm just racking my brain trying to think where I first saw Medusa, but I can't remember.
Probably in a video game, knowing you.
No. It was in a book of some sort. Maybe it was Fighting Fantasy. I'm not sure.
Of course, the Fighting Fantasy books dipped into legend at times, and were clearly inspired by legend.
There's a Medusa in Death Trap Dungeon. I think it might have been there.
Possibly.
Anyway,
because they dipped into the traditional legend.
well, of course,
and
yeah.
And look at some of the more recent ones that we've played. We've played the Beowulf book, which was very, very tight to the Beowulf, the original Beowulf story. The author did a wonderful job of making a choose your own adventure out of that classic Saxon tale,
out of something that has a defined ending. Yeah,
absolutely. Hello, Doc. And yeah, I mean, the Dracula one. Yes, it was based on Bram Stoker's Dracula, but Bram Stoker's Dracula had its roots in the Transylvania Dracula myth that developed from Vlad Dracul, Vlad Tepes.
Vlad Tepes and his wonderful psychological warfare.
Yeah.
It's just the more I learned about him, I was just like, my God, that man.
In the movie, you're talking about Mark Hawkman.
I'm guessing so. If it featured Angelina Jolie,
that movie came out a while ago now.
Yeah,
was it 2012?
I've not seen it. I don't watch many.
It was actually really good.
It was for what? Yeah, no, it was definitely good because it was all 3D, but like they've gone full in with like how they were making it. It's quite impressive for the time.
I'm gonna Google Angelina Jolie Beowulf.
Who's the guy who played Beowulf? Can't remember the actor's name.
No.
So Angelina Jolie played. Straight away, it comes up with a complaint that she was too hot to be Grendel's mother. First, it comes up a YouTube video about that.
How else are you going to entice Beowulf?
Was it Ray Winston? I was supposed to be Beowulf. Then you had a bunch of others.
Yes.
Yeah. Anyway, not important.
Not important. No.
2007. Holy crap!
Yeah, it was a.
But no, I mean, what got me with Jonathan Green's adaptations is quite how close he kept the style, the descriptions, the language that was used.
Yes,
how
Russell
close he kept
Crowe.
to the original. Right. Okay. And of course, we've got the Shakespeare versus Cthulhu one coming soon, which I will be reading.
Oh,
on the channel.
yeah.
Yeah,
That'll be fun.
I backed on
Maybe
Kickstarter.
that's a way to get my brother into Call of Cthulhu.
Is he a Shakespeare fan?
He's an artist, isn't he? He loves all that literary stuff.
Ah, right. The panelists of the Old Geek, the men, the myths, the legend. Well, is the man, the myth, the legend? Which of us is a man? Which of us is a myth? And which of us is a legend?
We'll leave that for chat to decide.
We will, yes.
All I know is that if you guys are elves, I'm a dark elf.
Are you happy with that, Imam? Do you feel satisfaction?
Yeah, sure, why not?
Yeah.
So you're going to be a drow, are you?
Yes, I will do it.
Well, enjoy your life of subjugation in the Drow city as the Drow women run society and the Drow men are expendable.
John, please. This is a progressive area. We've got polymorph other. He can be whatever he wants.
No, he can't.
Yeah, he can.
No, he can't.
Yeah, he can.
If he's Drow.
John, can you put up a poll?
What can you do with polymorph other? Go on. Tell it. Open up your book.
Okay. How do I put up a poll, people?
Oh, for gosh.
I don't know, actually.
Oh,
from the hilt here, he knows how to do it.
How do I put up polls? I don't know how to put up a poll.
Drow have the coolest outfits. Is this cool, yeah?
Right, so let's get back onto topic here because we're going to be spending the next 20 minutes of John going, oh, what have I done? Oh, where is this?
Yeah,
oh,
you keep talking.
Okay.
I'm going to put up a Beowulf background for me.
Imam, let's get back onto topic here. What is one of the, like, if you could pick any form of, like, let's pick a campaign, for example. Is there a setting that you would have loved to, like, had a campaign in, like, to explore the myths, legends, or anything like that?
Maybe I'm biased, but the way that Bloodborne handled the Victorian era Gothic atmosphere and slowly devolved into Lovecraftian madness, that would be, one, a place of familiarity for me, but two, I feel like I could do a lot with it.
Oh, definitely. Plus, I think you can have a lot of fun. So the Victorian age, there's a lot you can lean into, especially when it comes to like the intrigue, social intrigue. I can definitely see that you can definitely have a lot of that sort of being built in there. And it's at the like tethering period where you've got, again, my knowledge of English history is a bit wonky, so help me out. But it is also the period where you're not quite moving towards the industrial era, but you are
not quite there yet.
Yeah, you're not quite there, but like you are in this period of like the transitionary period between aristocracy and like the modern, businessmen becoming the new.
Yeah, that's exactly how I picture it before capitalism became a real thing.
Yeah. So I can definitely see a lot of that. And then with, the mythology of the Cthulian sort of being brought in, again, Bloodborne being inspired by that, there's a lot of potential with that. Would you then go down with the route of like the characters being the few people who they can actually see it, or like how would you want a campaign like that to be going about, and how would you let's start there?
I would I would probably do it in a way similar to Bloodborne, but I would change it slightly to adapt it for an RPG setting rather than a video game setting. But I would say that, you know, the more the more insight you have about the world and the truths, the less sanity you have, but also the more powerful you become as a result of that knowledge.
So wouldn't that? I'm also thinking from like, because you're wrong. Brought up
so if you are able to comprehend this unknowable monstrosity, then you are also able to better comprehend a way to kill it, if that was what you wish to do, right? Whereas if you can't even comprehend it in the first place and you can't wrap your mind around it, then there's not going to be much you can do against it, right?
Because my wife was recently playing a video game where you were playing, it was 1920s, 30s, but she encountered a thing where it was Lovecraftian, there was monsters, but some of the monsters wouldn't present themselves if she was too sane. So are you thinking of like
so I would want them to always be there but unseen, and then once you get past a certain threshold you start seeing it for what it really is.
That I can imagine leads to a lot of like really messed up situations, like a woman going, I've got a migraine, and go on.
I would have it where there are existing, let's say, NPCs or enemies or whatever you want to call other beings that are there and change as you get more insane. And I would also have them that are there but invisible and only become visible once you get too insane. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like, if you've lost a bit of your sanity, you are going to start seeing some shit, possibly hallucinations, possibly real. Once you lose enough sanity, it's like you realize that, oh shit, this is real and I'm fucked.
So it's so the more you, again, it's almost like I can't remember what the 80s movie is called, but like the guy who suddenly gets like the glasses and he can see like who is an alien, like that sort of like, I think it's called They Live, something like that. I can't remember, but your idea is that the more you basically go into it, the more you basically see like the world as how messed up it actually is with the monsters living amongst us. So with
I would possibly even do it as far as like the architecture, like it would get slowly more dilapidated as you become more insane.
Oh yeah, but again, like that's very much thinking from the point of view of, well, I suppose you could. Oh yeah, it's an RPG. It's all about descriptions.
Like if you're perfectly sane, you think the world's hunky dory and it looks normal. Do you know what I mean? Once you start seeing some shit, you'll start to see it elsewhere, and you realize that, oh, hang on, this isn't as quite kempt as I thought it was.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good one, and it would definitely like allow you as a player and as a DM to sort of like literally immerse you into like the myth, the lore, the legends that is that, because you'll now be hearing about like, oh yeah, you know, there's a legend of like this dog. Like, I'm just going to take like the Hound from H.P. Lovecraft, of like, you know, disturb the grave of the Hound and it comes back and it haunts you till you die. You then learn that no, it's real. Several people have been killed by it, and it continues killing until you return the stones to its grave. And it's like, this is now it. Would you then want, as a player, as you are starting this out, to have a lot of like myths and things to be brought up, which are then referred back to at the more insane you became?
Yeah, I would have things that constantly tie back to previous things to enhance that sort of feeling of not just at the atmospheric dread, but like how small the people are compared to the grand scale of things. Yeah,
because it's trying to say at least a bit of.
And I would also want it to be like, just because they can't see these entities doesn't mean they're not there, and doesn't mean they're not trying to hurt them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right, just
because
the poll is up.
Doesn't
we
mean
have 9 votes on it at the moment, and at the moment I'm winning the man. So,
well, I mean, you are the oldest. I don't mean that in any disrespect. It's just a fact.
I mean, I could take it further. I mean, he's the one here who's actually got kids, so.
Also true. Saxius, or you pulled forward then for a bit, Saxius, but you gone back.
Oh.
All right, fuck all you guys.
Oh, he's getting salty now.
No, I'm not really. To be fair, I thought I was going to be either the myth or the legend.
Okay,
I'll
so
definitely give you the title of legend.
46 with 46%
thanks,
of the vote, I'm the man. Right, okay, I'm the man. Let's get at the myth.
Hero Geek, he is just a simple mortal.
Yes, the myth.
I mean, it depends on what your definition of legend is, because some people would argue that legends are only made after they're dead.
And we've got many of them.
Yes.
Anyway,
I'm waiting for the next one too, Straw Piglet. But yeah, I haven't really given it too much thought. But on Bear's stream on Friday, he was asking all of us some stuff, and he asked me, if I was to run a game system as a campaign, what would I do? And I said, Call of Cthulhu, no questions asked. Because one, I'm familiar with it, but two, it's the style of game that I enjoy.
Yeah.
And I feel like if I enjoy playing it, and I find players who would enjoy playing in it, if I'm running, then
What is it? I mean, well played. I've got to give credit where it's due.
Yeah.
I'm glad you all agree.
Well, I appear to be losing the myth thing here. Iman, you're currently out in front regarding myth. I'll give it a few more minutes. So
I expected as much.
Yes.
It's because sometimes I'm here and sometimes I'm not.
Are you real?
Well, I mean, I'm real.
Quite.
To everyone else, I could still just be AI generated.
Yeah.
I love how the crowd is just engaging, just like, yeah.
Exactly, Sean. Exactly.
Heavens. All right.
So, you've had a good chat about Bloodborne. I was busy trying to sort out the poll thing, and I worked out.
No, it wasn't about Bloodborne specifically, but yeah,
I have to go into YouTube to do that rather than through StreamYard. So that's what I've discovered. Right. One thing. Next thing I've got here is a lot of us, when we create game worlds, end up creating some form of pantheons or adopting some form of pantheons, and I think these are very much inspired by mythological pantheons. I think we end up with gods of war, gods of death, gods of agriculture, gods of fertility, and I think it's blatant that fantasy game creators and people who create game worlds basically just lifted them straight out of Norse, Greek, Persian, Babylonian, Egyptian mythology, because they all had gods of these aspects of their lives. So how would you go about making a pantheon different?
Well, from what I've at least done, I've my second edition game.
God of On Fleek Drip.
Oh my god! Get out!
That's what the kids these days will be doing. I'm telling you.
I know, but it's like, please, I don't need the goddess of Daps, and then what have you? No,
you may now refer to me as the myth, everybody.
The IQ myth, or the myth of IQ.
Yeah, the myth is the fact that my initials are IQ, and yet I don't have much IQ. So
it's correlation does not mean causations.
Indeed.
Anyway,
I learned that in biology.
Anyway, bringing it back over, what I've done is that I have basically made the pantheon to be sort of working together in that sense. I've not directly said this one is some of them I've openly said I've been inspired by, like the God of War is a mix between the Norse Thor and Odin, god of thunder, weather, and all this, and the Greek, Ares and so on. Where I've just been basically going like, God of War is a God of War. That's it.
Yeah.
The God of Beauty, I basically mixed in and basically went, right, I'm going to take a bit of Freya, which is the idea of, again, beauty, but also then the idea of the three ladies from the Greek mythology that basically sees, the past, the present, and the future. Where the whole concept is that she is a beautiful person because she believes in the idea of beauty, but she weaves a tapestry that is the tapestry of the world and the future. And the whole concept.
Celtic mythology had a similar idea of the three
Yeah.
women.
So
the maiden, the mother, and the crone.
Yeah. So
at least for now, Andy, I wouldn't have it to be like a Horror on the Orient Express size campaign. It would probably be like maybe 5 or 6 session sort of campaign, I reckon. Something where you got enough to get your teeth into, but not enough where it drags out and gets boring. Or the characters die and go insane. Like, I would want that to happen maybe to a few of them, and not to everyone.
Yeah, I think with Call of Cthulhu campaigns, if you want the campaign to go on for a long time, you've got to have some continuity regarding the enemy. You've got to have a very elusive end game enemy.
Yes,
and you've got to start introducing the horror slowly.
Sax just is slowly losing patience with us.
What's happened? What's happened?
Doc Flamingo.
Lord of Dank Memes.
Yeah,
that's me.
As
the Church of Pepe.
I mean, sanity can be recovered, and in a more sandboxy Call of Cthulhu campaign than Horror on the Orient Express, there are plenty of means of getting a bit of sanity back, and that's where the players need to lean in on their favorite locations, important people, important objects, which they can use to help their characters' recovery. So it is perfectly possible to play a Call of Cthulhu campaign, but the DM is just going to be aware that things have got to start off gradually, and the players have got to be careful. I
think
you can't play it like it. Did Sax just win? Well, there we go. We have a man, we have a myth, and we have a legend. So I think we need to adjust our display names.
I know. I was just thinking that.
Yes. But yeah, I think go back to Nerdy Ogre. I mean, if you were doing a modern day one, you mentioned you would have a god. You'd have a god technology. You might even have a god of technology. Who was the god technology? And would that be what would happen with that god technology? Would it turn out as it turned out in the "I have no mouth but I must scream" story, where the god technology,
with the all-powerful AI that controls everything?
Well, where the AIs fought each other, and then the remaining, the surviving AI, then decided to torment those surviving the last.
It just sounds like a real-life Japanese Gundam plot, really.
Yeah. But it does. I mean, certainly. I think that would then lean into horror. In that sense, I mean, it would be a sci-fi horror. But it would certainly be horror. Yeah, Elfbait's right there. Credit rating would really come into a Call of Cthulhu campaign, and it should.
Well, one of our players has, characters has a 60 credit rating, which is more than double the rest of us.
Yeah. So yeah, we get as a group, you should lean into that. Make use of his contacts and his reputation, and his ability to handle himself in proper company.
Helicar's coming in here swinging with brutal comments.
The god of technology died in his homemade submarine exploring the wreck of the Titanic. Yes, Halakar.
Well, isn't
Yes.
anything above a 59 in credit rating like, wow, you're quite well off, mate? Like,
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah.
Anything above 50, you're pretty well.
I think I had a player who was sitting up like in the 70s or 80s because he was playing like as a mafia boss. Because their territory was being encroached upon by these cults, and he was like, I am not having this. Who are you people? Why are you selling these things? What's going on? What's wrong with you?
And he of course could pull strings, which would get other people to get their hands dirty.
hey, listen here, mate.
Oh, he was a Brummie to make it so much worse.
All
right, listen here, mate.
Listen here, I can't do a Brummie accent, so sorry, but you just basically go, listen here, you little shit. What the fuck are you doing on my turf?
Well, you should have heard John's attempt at a Slavic accent yesterday.
Oh, shut up. I can't do Slavic.
Greetings.
I said just do Russian and it'll be fine, and he still couldn't do that either.
No.
I can't.
No, but John can't do accents, full stop. It's like when you were in Italy.
I don't know, his French accent's all right.
Yeah, but that's French. That's like me making fun of the Swedes. Of course, I can make a Swedish accent because they're Swedish. Yeah.
John doing Slavic is good, yes?
It's not good, no.
That was all right compared to yesterday.
See, that was decent. See, at least that's stereotypical. Whatever you might have been doing before, that's like, oh, how are you doing, mate? It was like, no, how you doing?
He ended up like a German, Scottish, and something else. It was so weird.
That's like when I was trying to do like a Dutch one for one of my players, and I was just like, "You just sound Scottish." I'm like, "Yeah, no, it's shit. I'm gonna stop it."
Yeah. I mean, I can often do an accent for a very short phrase, but when it comes into improvising a conversation in the accent, it's difficult. But I can speak a bit of French. I did a few years of French at school, so I can sort of pick up on.
It's simple, comrade. You just lean into stereotype, no?
Yeah. Da.
Pourquoi?
A vodka.
Pourquoi? I mean,
Dimitri, Vlad, come over here. Sorry,
Ivan, come over. You need to. You do not need to speak like the French. Stop it.
Yeah, The Call of Cthulhu by R.J. Ivankovich for beginning readers.
Joy. Anyway, I'm terrible at accents. I just do variations on my voice anyway, because I can't do it for.
That's one thing I do look forward to when I eventually run a scenario on Call of Cthulhu, to have fun with the accents and the voices.
Go for it.
Go for it. Yes.
Just pretend you're dry heaving when you speak, and it works as a passable French accent.
Moi, je peux parler un peu de français so that I can speak with a little bit of a French accent. It is.
You could pretend that everything disgusts you, and you could do like this.
Would you look at that? That's a train track. Let's get back on the rails.
Sorry.
Where were we?
Where were we? Yes.
We weren't here, that's for sure.
I was trying to bring up the topic of when you make your own pantheon. I believe almost every DM will just lean in, unless they can come up with something unique about their pantheon, then they will just simply lean into the mythology.
Well, again, so the full thing I did was that the god that created the real thing that made my second edition world. He made his kids. As he was making the world, he made his kids, and then that basically sucked out the energy for him that created his kids, which means that right now the evil god is basically is locked up because he's just gone batshit insane, and all the kids are like, we love our dad, but like we can't let him loose. He needs to stay in the home. So we've got a permanent person who looks after him, and it's a titan to keep him in check. That's what I've done with that, because I wanted it to be different, and all the gods are technically siblings who are just basically trying to like keep the world in somewhat order because their dad just went on this tirade, and they're still trying to clean up after him.
Oh yeah, it's damage control, isn't it? Yeah,
it is, and it's just crazy. And now there's like dragons, and like because the Titans looking after their dad, there's all these giants that have come in. The world is inside of a skull the two eyes are basically doors, to the elemental plane of fire and the elemental plane of negativity. So it's just like there's all these monsters coming in constantly. It's an absolute mess, and they're trying to keep it under control. But that's what I've done.
I'm assuming they'd be like, "Hey, I remember your father. He did this, this, and that to me, and you're gonna pay for it."
I mean, yeah, if anyone knows about it, there's like one known character that's actually uncovered like why the world is the way it is, and that's the demonic lich who is just like, I want to get out of here because my powers are limited while I'm here, so I need to get out. I need to go be where I can have untapped potential.
Yes.
Everyone else is just like, we don't fucking know. We just think this is normal. None of my players have bothered to even go like, is the world round? Is it flat? Like, what's going on here? It's like, it's flat as a pancake. No one's bothered to do any research. I'm not going to stop you.
Well, yeah, the characters would have beliefs that might be incorrect. So if the players have beliefs that are incorrect, then let them.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I gave them a link. Again, I have not made the map of this world. I stole it from another DM, and that DM has made it public for everyone to take. There's a link to like the whole world map where you can see like 20% of the map is covered by this giant desert called the Red Desert. And I specifically went that area right there. That's where things really went funky because that's where they opened the gates to hell and the abyss for the first time, and they just couldn't shut them, which caused 20% of the world to basically get nuked.
I was going to ask you, so it wasn't a desert before that happened?
No.
Right.
There is something in my world called red sand, which is the equivalent of sand, but like all the particles are just uranium.
Oh,
so shit. So it's just like, you do not want red sand. It's the equivalent of like a dirty bomb, except like the area, the land, everything dies and mutates, so you don't want it.
It's like Chernobyl.
Yeah. So like 20% of the world was destroyed because of this event. And ever since that, like, if you do summoning, you're not allowed to know about demonology. You're not allowed to tap into other elemental planes, because the moment these doors are open, it is just hell on earth.
Yeah, it's too late. Yeah.
It's just like closing those doors are a nightmare. And for the rule, again, that's the sort of like, that's the history I've sort of like led into. And none of my players took history as a proficiency, so they are at the mercy of what the sages and what the NPCs tell them, and everyone's basically like, yeah, no, it's fucked. You don't want to go into the desert. You don't want to study these things, and you don't want to be a necromancer because you take dead people's soul and put them back into an undead corpse, which means that soul now has to bear the pain of being in that body. Which is,
depends whether the soul deserves it or not. It could be a form of punishment.
Yep, but you're assuming it's right. You have no way of knowing. None of my players have done any research. They're all basing this on like the research done by other NPCs. They've not gone out and tried it. They've had members of the Necromancer Empire in their mansion commit.
Doesn't that describe humans throughout history, though?
Yeah,
not do their own research, just believing everybody else, just believe what everybody else does.
Yeah, it's on the internet. It must be true.
It's the same as what was like as Bear said several times. Go through his documents, go through the history of Albania. No, it's not Albania. What's the
Albania?
Albania, there we go. Albania. Go through the history of Albania. Learn the beauty of this fantasy world.
Well, my great uncle Zog was king of Albania.
Good for you. Listen, you cannot do any worse. I had to do a delivery to Kosovo, and I made the absolute top tier brain genius level decision to contact my partners in Serbia, going, I need to deliver this to Kosovo. Can you help me? And they went, Kosovo does not exist, comrade. Send it to us. It is a domestic delivery. I was just like, I should not have.
Oh, whoops.
I was like, oh yeah, right.
That's
the
fucking
Balkans.
hilarious.
The Balkans.
Yep.
No. Yes.
Yeah, it's like phoning the Chinese for delivery to Taiwan. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my god, that was hilarious. And they were just like, no, this does not exist. Send it to us. It is a domestic Serbian delivery. I'm like, okay.
Oh, whoops.
Well, it's basically like, well, at the risk of sounding racist, it's basically like leaving a parcel at your neighbor's house, isn't it?
So, it got
well,
delivered.
I mean, if you ask them, they'll say that. If you ask the Kosovo people, I'm sure they'll say the opposite.
Yeah, no, I did. One of my colleagues is Hungarian. He was just like, Oscar, you absolute fucking imbecile. You're supposed to be the smart one here. You genuinely like stirred the pot by asking that question.
Hey, all the generations above me were like, "Oh, Pakistan versus India, blah blah blah." And I'm like, it's not even a thing anymore. What are you on about?
Yeah. Except
so
I
don't see it as a problem, but I know it still is a problem to a lot of people.
Yeah. No, but it's never mind. That's neither here nor there.
That's quite hilarious, though. I have to say.
Yeah.
Comrade, what is this country you speak of? I know heard of this.
Yes.
No.
Yeah.
I've got another blunder I can share, but I'll do it off when we're done here.
Okay.
I've done something that's much worse.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think that was that bad, really. At least you didn't say it to the Kosovo people.
Yeah.
If you told them you'd left a parcel over there, they'd be like, "You fucking what?"
Anyway,
I have closed the poll. You'll be glad to know you won the legend poll by a mile there, Zaccius. So
I think this went exactly the way that I would have thought it would.
Yeah, I think, yeah.
I thought you were going to do it like all three in one poll. So like Man, John, Man, Yog, Myth, IQ, Legend, Saxius, and then a mixture of them, and then there was three options. So yeah, that's how I thought you were going to do it.
Would have been too complicated.
I don't know. I mean, I think people might have voted for multiple people for different things.
Yeah, maybe.
I mean, just because someone voted you as Man didn't mean they couldn't vote you as the legend. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I was biased the entire way through. I voted for myself.
I made the poll, so I couldn't vote. So you pair both influenced the votes.
No, I voted you as Man, I voted myself as Myth, and I voted him as the legend. And that's what happened.
Well, there you go. You got your way.
Well, no, I only had one vote each time. There was like 14 or 15.
I didn't have any votes. I didn't have any votes because I made the poll.
You're right, ma'am. You need at least 3 votes per vote for every election. Yeah. Anyways, on to the myth and the legends.
Yes. As I said at the start, I'm currently playing Mike of sausage eating fame is currently he took on running Odyssey of the Dragon Lords as his first ever attempt at DMing. He bought into the idea that 5th edition D&D is a good version of D&D to learn DMing with. Yeah. And I don't disagree at low levels, but it has a serious flaw in that it throws, if you play it pretty much by the book, the characters gain levels really quickly, and novice DMs can very quickly be in a little bit too deeply. It's very easy to make mistakes when running 5th edition. I find long-term mistakes that will disrupt a campaign. Mike hasn't made too many of those. He's made a few that he's owned up to. But he chose to run Odyssey of the Dragon Lords, which is a Greek mythology-inspired 5e game, which tries to encapsulate the whole idea of the heroic characters, which 5th edition does anyway. But it makes them even more heroic and gives them even more powers And to make it even more difficult, it's quite sandboxy and expects the DM to fill in a lot of the blanks and flesh things out. And to me, it has just shown that unless you are very experienced with the rules of 5e and have experience of other systems, unless you are running a traditional high fantasy game in a traditional high magic world, things can get a bit jarring at times. Things can get a little bit odd, and he's admitted that he is struggling at with parts of it. But what he's done more recently has brought it to life in that he's made a number of sections much more heavily role playing. One really, really nice section in that was where we met the Fates, which of course Greek mythology, and they were a coven of hags, which you would expect them to be, but of course D&D has the hags.
Yep. He
embellished an island which had got a lair with a chimera, and he did a good job of it. We're currently doing a bit of a murder mystery. I don't know quite where this fits into the Greek legend of it. It's almost got like Cthulhu elements to it, but I'm enjoying it anyway. But I find that unless, with any version of D&D, especially 5th edition, unless the DM is willing to really make big changes to the way the system works, it's hard to recreate those legendary stories without severely taking a hatchet to the rules and severely limiting player options. Have you ever tried to recreate a legend when running a version of D&D, Zaxius?
I have used the legend of what is her face again? The evil demon goddess of dragons. Trying to remember her name.
Tiamat,
that's the one. So I've used her before.
Was that how you pronounce it?
Yeah. Well,
okay.
Supposedly. How, mind you, like Duergar and Duragar. Like I always go for Duragar when it comes to the evil dwarves. Anyway, so I've tried Tiamat for that, and that was for a Pathfinder game where I more or less just let the players run amok.
Yeah.
And it quickly sort of showed because I had to basically multiply. I had to have a multiplying factor of 100 for the enemy soldiers just to stop the numbers game from letting the players just win and like stand in one spot and kill off the enemy. So that was quite bad, and then they ended up having to face against Tiamat herself, or at least an avatar of her, and they survived. It was like 3 rounds with Tiamat just breathing, 6 attacks, or like 6 breath weapons at the time, followed them by like multiple claw attacks, and the players were still surviving. It was like, okay, that's a case of like where it was too high, but like that's a legend I've tried to bring in. Outside of that, I try not to bring gods down to mortals, except for maybe a few occasions. Yeah, there's been a few occasions where I was still learning. I had, I think it's like Osiris, or like it was Bokop from Greyhawk, effectively, portrayed as like the Egyptian god.
Holy fuck!
What's up?
Sorry. I was just checking, because remember I showed you a while ago that there was an enemy in Final Fantasy called a Malboro. Well, they put it in 5e.
Ah, nice. So I've had like a deity interact with a player while he was dreaming, but I've never really done the whole thing of like gods come down and greets them, because I've always felt like no, there needs to be that physical distance. And the more experienced I become, the more I go down the route of the clerics and the gods should be having less and less direct communication. And I've recently had a player basically like confirm some ideas I've had, which is I don't want clerics to just be like wizards, and they need to be different. But that's a whole different conversation.
Yes, true. Yeah, I mean, I think having that gap between the cleric and the deity is important, and I think it's better that the cleric sort of receives quite obtuse signs.
Yeah.
Rather than direct communication, and certainly direct confrontation is a bad idea.
Definitely. I've done with my fifth edition game. I've got a cleric of the grave domain, so he is, he has to look after and make sure that the dead stays dead. You got to make sure that he fights the undead, and he tries to keep life, the life cycle continuing as much as he can. There was a period where the player basically he made an agreement with an archfey, and the archfey was like, "Oh, lovely! I want to go ahead with that." But then he was walking down the path of potentially selling himself into a warlock pact, and his deity basically went, "Right, I'm going to present you with a nasty character, which is going to be your father. Your father's going to present you 2 coffins. You can either go into the one where you are accepting who you are, which is you're meant to be a dwarf and you're meant to be a cleric of this domain, or you can go into the one made out of wood and thorns, which is you accepting the fact that you are basically abandoning the god and choosing another deity effectively." And that's where the players are sort of went, okay, this is quite a harsh, reality check, but it's not the god doing it. It's him having a terrible nightmare of his father going, you need to pick which grave you will be remembered at, because one is your ancestors, the other one is someone else that you're now choosing. Not in those exact words, but so heavily hinted at that he needed to make up his mind.
Yeah,
that was good. So that there's less like telephone communication, and that again, I don't want to have the players directly have an influence by the DM, and I would rather have signs. You pray for this, and then there is a moment or a sign of blah, but the interpretation of this is down for the player. It's the same why I like the augury spell. I don't have to give a direct answer. I can give a vague statement, or if I'm particularly creative, I will look up a song from a metal band like Iron Maiden, and then I will just find a line and be like, "This is what you're being told."
I used lines from songs by
say "fuck you," I won't do what you tell me.
I use lines from songs by Fields of the Nephilim in a 2E campaign. Most of you won't be familiar with Fields of the Nephilim. They are
I am, thanks to you.
Yes, they are a goth rock band, and the lyrics are heavily inspired by. They mention Cthulhu, and it's all talking about sort of old legends and biblical stories, and all mashed up with sort of mystical elements. And there's I think there's a bit with Aleister Crowley dubbed over the top of one of the songs reading something. It's very, very dark, so they're ideal for me to use because I like darkness in my games, because I'm really just an edgelord at heart. But yeah, when it comes to interacting with gods, one of the things that the Odyssey of the Dragon Lords campaign does that I'll admit I don't like is you are constantly bumping into avatars of the deities. They are present on the material plane.
But
they are movers and shakers in the world.
But in the Greek lore, they were.
But they're there all the time. They're you start meeting up with them when you're first or second level, when you're insignificant. There's a complete lack of an insignificant phase. But I suppose that is quite true to Greek mythology in a sense that you're emulating the Greek heroes and
the Greek heroes were bumping into all these weird and wonderful things, but equally so. How many times did Zeus go, that woman down there, I've got him, and then off he goes.
That bull down there.
Yes, like my point is,
I will become that. I will become a bull. And
yeah. Well, it lets us. So I don't know. Like, they don't look into that side of the Greek mythology. It becomes a bit questionable.
Yes,
very questionable.
Yes. Anyway. We've enjoyed this. Seraphis is here. Cody's here. Manfred's here. Grim Squirrel's here. Good evening, chaps. Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. GM Cody knows Fields of the Nephilim. Good. One of my favourite bands. Seen them live 3 times now. They just get better.
Yeah,
with
keep
age.
rubbing it in.
Yes, they're very good.
But my point is, like, again, for a setting such as Greek mythology, it makes sense because there are a lot. It is very high fantasy, even by our mythological standards.
Yeah.
Yes.
You have got minotaurs who live on Earth. You have got the gods directly cursing the people and directly going down and doing direct influences. It is very hands-on.
Yeah, the gods actually care what the people do.
Yeah. If I were to compare the limited knowledge I have of the Greek mythology to the Norse mythology, the Norse is very much, we are up in Valhalla, we look down upon the people, and then we will do things from here. Or Thor will go, you know what, the hell with this, I'm going to go down to Niflheim, I'm going to start beating the crap out of a couple of giants, and then I'm going to go fishing for Jormungandr and try and kill him. And it's like, there's these high heroic things, but it's never happening on the mortal realm. Middle Earth is never threatened, or Midgard is never really threatened by it until Ragnarok happens, and then everyone's kind of fucked.
I mean, the link between the gods world and the warriors is the Valkyries, isn't it?
There was also the rainbows. The rainbow was also said to be a what's it called? That's where Heimdall. Heimdall was supposed to be basically standing watch and basically looking down upon those who walked up.
The Bifrost Bridge.
Yeah, the Bifrost.
You call it the Bifrost here? I thought the correct pronunciation was Bifrost.
The fuck?
I need to read it back up. It depends on which language it is, because you've got Norwegian, Swedish, and Icelandic will be a bit different. I might be wrong. I think Bifrost is what the English translation is.
It's the anglicized version,
yeah. But that's the bridge between the god world and the rest that they used. But then you've also, again, if you died in battle, here's the thing: the Valkyries, yes, they would come and collect you, but there were conditions. You had to die in battle, and you have to have a weapon in your hand. Those are 2 conditions. So if you died in battle, but you didn't have a weapon in your hands, you didn't go to Valhalla.
Too bad.
If you died in battle and you had a weapon in your hand, you had a chance of going to heaven, to Valhalla, but it was a 50-50 chance at that point. So,
So even if you fulfilled the 2 prerequisites, there was still only a 50-50 chance.
Literally, there was a capacity problem. The logistics.
They don't have enough chairs in Valhalla.
We don't have enough Valkyries. It's just like, listen, we gotta leave you behind. We're sorry. It was like, where am I gonna go? You're just gonna have to walk that way. You're gonna end up in hell. It was like, what have I done to deserve this? Like, I don't make them rules. There's just not enough space. We don't have a bus. Start walking. I was like, okay, guess I'm going to hell then. Yes.
Well, I mean, I guess it makes sense. There's only a stairway to heaven, but there's a highway to hell, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
Hey!
good reference. Yeah, good reference.
Yes.
Thank you.
Doc Flamingo is very, very right. You know, the gods mess with each other.
Yeah,
so
like if you're really a god, why do you give a shit what people are doing?
well, again, like it really sort of depends on how you want to go about it. Because look
Like-
again at the Greek. The Greek cared so much what the humans were doing because they were vain. Like, look at how vain the gods were.
Yeah.
Like, Zeus's wife. Oh my god, she was a spiteful person, and Poseidon was not exactly kind either. There's so many of them where it's just like, yeah, we just didn't like you, and we're now gonna make you ugly. We're gonna curse you. We're just gonna, what was the guy?
The problem Hera had was that Zeus would shag anything. That was the thing. He wasn't loyal to her.
But like it just keeps on getting worse the more you go into it. Like the dude who climbed Mount Olympus and got fire and brought it down to the people. He's like, yeah, no, I'm not gonna chain you to a rock. A hawk is gonna come down and rip out your kidney and eat it every day, and you will regenerate and endure the pain of dying every day until the end of time. What kind of horrifying experience is that? Every day you wake up to a hawk literally ripping you open and eating you. It's like that is terrifying. And that's what God just did. Like, you took a thing from me. And I was gonna give it to you anyway, but you took it from me. I don't like it.
So yeah.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember his name. Who was it who was chained to the rock? It was one of the Titans. One of the Titans.
I thought it was a man.
It was one of the Titans. Oh.
Greek mythology. Dude. Tied to rock. I gotta love what Google.
Prometheus.
Of course. Yep.
Yes. And that is why Frankenstein is known as the modern Prometheus, I believe.
There we go. Yeah, Prometheus.
Fire of life.
I was about to call him Sisyphus.
Everyone's now saying Prometheus.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the one.
And
gotta love chat.
Like, right answer, because the most people in chat will say it.
Well, we have a very intelligent chat. We have very intelligent people who watch it. I can't say that for the
Seraphis is being curious.
Suit him up.
Backwards.
That'd be a good name for it. That sounds like a good name for a Cthulhu-esque deity. Suit him up.
Hey Manfred, when you get here, nod Nazna. I'll wait for the stream to finish and he'll eventually get there.
Nod Nazna.
I do know who Nod is.
He created an NPC, which was the reverse of one of his friend's name. His friend was called Don Hansen. So he reversed it and made Nod Nazna.
Well, Gygax did that with lots of things.
Nosner? Yeah.
It's like
he inserted himself as a demigod as well.
Yeah.
What, did he seriously do that? Wow.
Yeah, like it's Gygax but backwards.
Zagig.
Yeah.
Zagig.
I don't know.
Okay.
Shocking. Right. But it's also like I think it was later also changed to like Bokop or something like that for the same reason. But yeah. Regardless, I mean he's already got Mordenkainen as his primary contribution. And Greenwood's got Ilminster.
That's how you know what someone thinks of themselves. Because I'm in the process of writing a choose your own adventure book, and I've inserted myself as just a regular old NPC. I'm not a demigod. I ain't nothing special. I'm just a guy chilling in a shed. You know what I mean?
Well, I'd at least give credit to like Mordenkainen because Gygax did actually play that character all the way up to the ridiculous level that he got to, whereas just making himself and putting.
So he earned it.
Yeah, he earned it at that point. That's why you've got so many of like Mordekaine's whatever spell.
Right.
So, yeah.
So he didn't just self-insert because I wanted to be so powerful and blah blah blah. He actually earned the way all the way up there.
Yeah, for that wizard, yes, but for the other one, I don't know. No, not to my understanding. But anyway, that's a part of the myth and legends of Greyhawk. And I love bringing in Mordecai. At least I used him for like the Curse of Strahd game, to have this big bombastic, self-sure character who was like, yeah, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that, and with the players being like, but we're the heroes here. Like, what's going on? It's like, you're dealing with a guy with an ego. Like, how do you deal with a guy with an ego? And one of the players went, we've got to stroke his ego in the direction that we want. I was like, yep, there you go.
That makes sense.
Yeah. And I was able to then get rid of Mordecai in the game because I was like, oh, there's also Strahd has got a lich, so Mordecai, the lich, fly off, do background superhero fight, while the players then have the actual thing from the module.
So if it's Swiss, would it not be pronounced differently than that?
Gigax, well, it depends.
That's what I would thought. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anglicized Gygax, I would say. Yeah.
Yeah. Gygax. Yeah. Gygax is how it's pronounced in the majority of English speaking, but Gigax, it is a Swiss origin name. Yeah. Anyway, on that, yeah, Mike.
Google is your friend, Kabuki Kid. Google is your friend.
Google is our friend. But from there, yes, the Greek gods were very active. I believe
active as in they just felt the need to fuck with humans.
Just YOLO.
Because
you only live once. You.
But yeah, I think the thing with me with that campaign is it was the fact that they were getting involved straight away when we were level 1, saying you are the heroes, you are destined for great things, off you go, go and be heroes. And I'm very much stuck in the opinion that a level 1 character is a nobody.
Yeah, but
there's nobody, and that just sort of doesn't.
Yeah, but you're thinking of it from a point of view of like AD&D, OSE mentality. Like, I'm a priest at level 1. I can't even cast a spell. I was like, yeah, that makes sense. But this is 5th edition. You are a level 1 5th edition character. You are the equivalent of like a 5th level character from OSE and AD&D. You've got so much power coming out of your West.
So I'm the man. IQ is the myth. Saxius is the legend, and guns are cool. Daniel,
how are you guys doing?
You're all 3, aren't you? You're all 3. You are the man, the myth, and the legend.
Ask my first 2 wives; they'll beg to differ.
This is a family show, so how you doing, Daniel? So have you been in chat the whole time, or have you been coming and going?
He was here at the beginning, yeah.
I know he was,
I was, and then due to my hand, I've been sleeping well, so I nodded off for a little bit. I'm sure Bear would love to bag on me about that. I had to take a nap.
But at your advanced age, you're allowed to have a little nap.
Gee, thanks.
Wow, he's so much more advanced than you. He's only 3 levels higher. Come on.
Yeah. So, a favorite mythology. Saxius, it's fairly obvious you're a fan of Norse mythology.
Can you blame him? He's born in the lands.
Yeah.
I will say, and I don't know a lot about it at the moment, but the more I was always a fan of Greek mythology when I was younger, but the more I learn about the Aztec mythology, the more I think, man, those are some twisted bastards. Those are some...
they were pretty ruthless. Yeah.
The more I think, I could run some good horror stuff in that part of the world.
I almost think it's unfair that Dan doesn't have a nickname now.
Yeah. I got nuns. Thanks to whoever did that.
So a favorite mythology, Iman?
I don't know. Maybe I'm a bit biased, but because I watched Yu-Gi-Oh growing up, maybe Egyptian is what I'm most familiar with.
I mean, yeah, it's a decent mythology. Like they've got some interesting stuff.
Yeah, they do.
Yes.
And actually, they're probably.
I can't say I've come across it in too many other forms of media, but yeah.
Well, of course, Roman and Greek is well documented, but the Egyptian is very well documented with the war and everything, and the myth and everything, considering the age of their civilization and everything else.
Yeah.
I like the Celtics.
Yeah.
I always thought they were pretty interesting.
Yeah.
But I do have a soft spot for Norse mythology as well, because Final Fantasy, as the video game series, does take a lot of those. But I think it takes from everywhere, though, because it also has like Shiva and Ifrit and stuff like that, so...
Yeah, but it's like it's a mission part of like anything that the developers...
It's a whole amalgamation, yeah.
Yeah, like they basically went, yes. But it's like, well, no, you need to pick one. It's like, yes, we pay everything. Yes, throw it in there. Everything.
Yeah, so it's like someone asked him, so which mythology do you want to go for? Norse, Greek, Egyptian? They just went, yes.
Yeah, put it all there. So we can only put in, that will put it above 250 hours of gameplay. It's like, yes, we need more.
Yes.
Find the African ones. Bring them in.
Oh, that would be interesting,
I mean, okay, so that's definitely one of the areas I don't know.
Do you know what, actually,
about.
Slan? Thanks for mentioning it. That's some question that I've been meaning to ask John forever. Is there a feudal Japan Call of Cthulhu?
Not that I've ever seen.
Because that really would be fun. That would be another setting that I would consider running Saxius, by the way.
Mm.
But obviously, because if there's no established one, I have to homebrew it.
Can you imagine how badly we'd butcher the accents for that?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Stereotypes exist for a reason,
Yeah, but it's like, it's there for the sake of immersion, or just to have fun and get into the character. It's like,
yeah, I wouldn't go the full 9 yards and go like, "Oh, you bring shame on your family," but I would try and implement some of it, of course.
Yeah, exactly. But like, I mean, when I ran a Shadowrun game, everyone basically pitched in and went, right, we are playing a specific block where we're from the Balkans. We are Bosnians, we are Croatians, we're Serbians, we're all of these lot, like we're all this. And then I had one player who went, I am playing in as an Englishman. It's like, why? Because I immigrated from the UK and I now live here because it's cheap. It's like, why? Like literally everyone bought into this. Like, please just do something different. But no, that's fair enough. But yeah, that was also a fun thing where we had the whole thing of like, one player being like, I'm from Croatia. It's like, I'm Bosnian. It's like, you don't get along. Anyway, a bit of a tangent there, but
yeah,
that makes a change.
I mean, I will admit now, I don't know enough about Conan beyond the Conan the Barbarian film and the one Conan module that I had the misfortune of attempting to run.
I found a 12-hour long read for Conan the Barbarian from the books, and I think I got into like 4 or 5 hours of listening. It's good though. Like the world is really interesting, and it is very. I mean, yes, there is steel and all that, but you're not dealing with like medieval times where everyone has got chainmail. It is genuinely like almost. I would even describe it as far as like Bronze Age, like in terms of like the development.
I fully intend to read some R.E. Howard stories. The channel, so that's how I'm going to get into it.
He is like, between him and H.P. Lovecraft, Howard is very good at writing stories with action. Like the whole idea of like what we here consider to be like, this is D&D, is like, yeah, no, wizards are scary. The moment you learn there's a wizard there, you throw an axe at him, you throw a dagger at him, you shoot him. You don't take that chance because you've got no idea what they're going to be doing. You can't explain it. There are monsters out there that are just, I don't know. It's a giant, silverback gorilla. What are you going to do? He's going to beat you to death.
Yeah.
I found something. Gosh, I mean, this is like 30 years ago. And his Conan books, the main continent was based off of Europe and Africa.
God damn it.
But like the central countries, trying to think of the name of the countries, like in the middle of the continent.
Mm-hmm.
That was actually where the Mediterranean Sea was. Because I'm sure you guys know the history where it was millennia ago. There was this society, and then crap hit the fan, and then world history started over again. But like the Pictic Wilderness was actually where Great Britain was whatever you want to call it, but it was pretty cool. And then when you did the overlay, you could see how he did the mapping and how he used major land features. And pretty much what he did was he took the Mediterranean out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And that was your heartlands kind of thing. It was pretty cool. Wish I could find that again. Oh well.
Well, I mean, it's certainly. I fully intend to start reading some Howard, and I'd like to go from the beginning. I think, and go through it pretty much chronologically. So we'll see. We'll have to see. I have found
that looks like it, Andy. That looks like it. Thank you so much for that.
So, are we? When you run Call of Cthulhu, Iman, is it going to be
feudal Japan? No, I could make it that, but I feel like it would be better to start with some English first.
Iman is planning on starting out running his first. He's never run a game before, and he wants his first game to be Call of Cthulhu. I've given him some adventure suggestions, so we do need potentially some volunteers to play in a Discord game with Iman running it.
I'm up for it.
I have Manfred and Andy so far. I ideally need 2 more, but even one would be okay.
One thing you could do, I know you said you want to start out English. You could base it out of the American West Coast, i.e. San Francisco or Seattle. And then it's a very easy tie-in to Japan, where somebody gets Shanghai, you end up on a boat and getting shipped over to Japan.
I mean that sort of thing I'd imagine would be later, because I think initially when you start running Call of Cthulhu, it can be very difficult to put together a cohesive scenario of your own to begin with.
Oh yeah,
I've given him some suggestions for starting scenarios for him to run, and a lot of them require very minimal prep. So let's see. Hopefully we'll see how it goes. There, Cody says he'd play. In fact, I think you should run it on. I should run your first game
across the pond.
Mm-hmm. I think you should run it as a live play game on YouTube. Your first ever game as DM.
No. Fuck off. I'm not doing that in public. Fuck off.
Let him run the game in private. Get some experience with it. Let him test it out at his own pace. I have to agree. There's a lot of.
I was trolling him.
I was going to put it in the chat, but it's fine. I'll just say it. Slan, I haven't forgotten you. It's because of the scheduling thing. The reason I said Manfred and Andy is because we have that slot already, and we already all know to be there. It's nothing against you. I'm just saying. But
Yeah,
yeah, if
you
I
were
could get
thinking-
Slan and Cody, that would be perfect. Yeah.
You were thinking of running it on a Tuesday night, weren't you? Which is our Cthulhu night.
Yeah, because like I said, it's an already established time slot, isn't it? So it just makes sense.
And it makes sense for us here in Britain, but obviously, if it's 1 p.m. on a Tuesday afternoon in the US, for example, it's going to be difficult for
John's
for
given
our
me a
friends over
scenario which I've started making notes on. You'll be glad to know, John. By the way.
Good. Have you gone with the one I suggested?
Yes. So what I've done is I've basically, you know how they have all the NPC pages. I've sort of taken all the detail from there, got rid of what I don't need, put in some stuff that I think would be better.
Yeah, good idea. To keep the framework of the adventure, because I've only recently started writing my own adventures for Call of Cthulhu, and it hasn't been a total success. Each time it's been, I've run, for example, Twinkle Twinkle Little Star twice, and asked for feedback from the players both times, and as to how I can just tweak it, just to make sure it runs fine. And that's the one I'll be running at the convention at Clericon. So Slan has a while ago volunteered to help with the layout of it, but hopefully I'll be running it at the convention. So the plan is for me to do some sort of manuscript for it beforehand, run it at the convention, and then send sort of the finished contents to Slan for a quick sort of look through.
I mean, basically, Halakar, roll a d10 to see how many tentacles decide to whip you this round.
Thank you, Manfred. Thank you, Manfred. That's the sort of feedback. I'm happy with that sort of feedback. Also, constructive criticism helps as well.
Yeah.
Are you caught up, Manfred?
Looks like it. But I think any adventure needs to be the players need to be let loose on it a few times to find the holes in them.
Hey, I'll let my players loose when I do my homebrew world in Burnley. Trust me, Burnley don't need much changing. There's enough shit going on here. So,
yeah.
You caught up. Let's go. All right, cool. Just in time.
Yeah, well, we've only got 17 minutes of the stream left, and I am starting to nod off. I'm off work tomorrow. Hurrah! I don't have to be off for work in the morning, but I am very tired because I had to work an extra shift on Monday. So that's why I didn't do a video on Tuesday, because I was just like, and I've been to work again today, and I've got tomorrow off. So tomorrow I'll be doing video-y things tomorrow. That's the plan. That is the plan.
Yes, enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
I know 6 days on doesn't seem like a lot, but I also worked Sunday evening as well. So Sunday turned out to be a 15-hour day with no breaks. None at all. So,
doesn't the average person only work 5 days a week?
Yeah.
Oh, damn.
Thank you, Daniel.
5 days a week? Really? You're that lucky?
Well, not right now, but yeah.
Malachi, David Mills, Saxius, Richard P, and Master Blaster.
Oh wow! Thank you very much.
Malachi's name's just changed. I called him Malachi because you keep calling him that.
I keep calling him Malachi because that's how it in English that would be how it's pronounced.
Malarkey.
Yeah, malarkey. What a bunch of malarkey. Lifting weights does tire you out, Manfred. It does.
It depends which plumbing you're referring to, Robert.
Didn't he say he was fixing his plumbing while he was watching a video or something?
Yeah,
I think he's talking about in real life.
House plumbing. I would have thought he might be talking about personal plumbing there for a moment.
It was meant to be Malachi. Okay, yeah, I see that. Poseidon would be the god of plumbing. Okay, now.
It would, yes.
Right. I think I'm gonna have to sneak off now.
Saxius is like, right, fucking head fed up into this shit.
I'm tired. Like it's been like we're only 10 days into this month, and it's just like every day my team just like we just look at each other and we're just like we're done. every day has just been like we've been drained of all energy, like mental and physical. Because it's just,
Oh, dear.
it's just
You got a holiday lined up for this summer, Saxius, at all?
no.
No.
Well,
No.
I've got like odd days off in August because my wife's off and she needs someone to sort of like break up the monotony of just being home. So I've got days where I'm just gonna be like, okay, don't do it, not going to work that day. Take her out, do something, and then go to work the next day. But otherwise, I have got no holidays between now and Christmas. Actually, no, that's a lie. End of August, I've got an escape period, a time off with my wife for an extended weekend. But outside of that, nothing else. I don't spend my holidays.
Cheers, Squirrel. Yeah, I've got a very short holiday coming up, but I won't be going away for it. I'll be staying at home. Just
yeah, that's what I'm. Anyway, I'm nodding off. I need to run. I need to sleep.
Yeah.
Have a good night.
Anyway, yes.
Take care, Stacks.
Bye.
The reason I'm not going away on a proper holiday this year is I booked my holiday week at work, thinking I knew which week my wife had booked at our usual destination. The other manager of our shops booked the following week after me, so we didn't clash, and I got the week wrong. My family are going away camping to Wales the week that I have to work every day to cover the other manager. I'm just gonna have a week off at home, lock myself up here in the attic, and do lots of stuff, play lots of games, do lots of stuff for games, do RPG stuff, and make videos for that week, I think.
Yeah, I haven't been on a proper vacation since 2001. I think was the last time I actually took a full week off and went out of town for a week. Yeah.
I had a week in a tent last year in Wales.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah.
Normally, previously, I would only take a few days off here and there, but and because I don't like going camping for long periods of time, to be honest.
No. Well, we always got a house on the Outer Banks down in North Carolina. We'd do that like twice a year for a week or 10 days at a time, but just with work in the house and the kids and everything, I just haven't been able to. I can't find time.
But when I go to Canada in October, it'll be the first time I've been abroad since I got married, and that was 22 years ago.
Yeah, that's cool. I hope you have a good time.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
But I mean, last time I went abroad, it was to Mauritius. So it's like, and it sort of look at other typical holiday destinations around Europe, and it's like I just end up comparing them to that hotel in Mauritius. I'll just compare those beaches to beaches on the Indian
Nothing quite
Ocean.
compares, does it?
No, nothing. But nothing can compare. It's unfair.
That rhymes.
We basically had the most. We decided to have the most luxurious holiday that we could possibly afford, as both our wedding and our honeymoon at the same time, because it cost us 1/5 of the amount of getting of a wedding day in this country, because of the cost of catering and everything.
And you got a holiday out of it, like you got nice scenery and all that sort of stuff. Like it just seems like a no-brainer.
Absolutely.
My first marriage, the wife wanted this grand freaking wedding and reception and all the other happy horse crap, and the wedding itself was over 10,000. The honeymoon ended up costing about 7,000. So yeah, it got expensive.
How long was the honeymoon for, though?
A week down.
I don't know. It's not too bad then, I guess.
Well, It was 3,500 for the hotel and all the planning and reservations and crap like that. Then we spent another 3,500 in cash. The wedding itself was like $11,000. Now, mind you, this is back in '95, so you would have to
Start an
like
argument,
double
John.
that right now. So yeah, it was pretty pricey.
It cost us $4,500 for 11 days, all inclusive, including the wedding package, including my suit, my wife's dress, all the and for all the paperwork to be done, and a proper wedding suite in this four-star plus hotel in Mauritius, flights and everything.
That's not bad at all. And then, mind you, the one day, we're in the process of breaking up, separating, whatever you want to term it, and I'm feeling down on myself, so I throw in a videotape of the wedding. I don't know why, maybe just to beat up on myself. She recorded over our wedding.
Ah, bitch.
No way.
She recorded some dumbass 2-hour TV show over our wedding.
Oh.
Bitch.
So yeah, it cost us. We worked out it was £200 per day.
That's not bad at all.
To basically to have absolute luxury for.
That's pretty cool.
I can't remember. I think it was 11 days we had in Mauritius.
That's not bad at all.
£200 each per day to be waited on hand and foot. So it's a lot more to go there now. We'd love to take the kids back there to show them where we got married, but we couldn't even dream of affording that. Couldn't even dream of it. But still got the memories, and that's the best part. That's the best part. But so hopefully Canada will give me some new memories, some new experiences as I sleep on Major's Musings sofa, because that's the plan.
Yeah.
That is the plan.
A couple pints of Guinness and some cigars. It'll be a good time.
Yeah, and roll some dice with some friends. I think that's the plan. And I am hoping he's going to schedule one of his OSE sessions, and I get to play OSE with Bumblestump.
That would be neat.
Yes, that would be great.
Hey, these scammers are getting good, I just got an email from Activision. Well, what seems to be Activision, but I don't have an Activision account, so.
Well, guys, I got to get going. My son just got home, and I got to finish up dinner.
Enjoy.
No worries.
Have a good night.
We do have OSE planned for this weekend. Gene's going to run an afternoon session, and because Codex Albana's not happening this weekend, I'll be running an evening OSE session. So you'll be glad to hear that, Dan.
So there will be 2 sessions on Saturday?
That's the plan. That's the plan.
All right. Awesome sauce. Talk to you guys later.
So, chat.
Later, mate.
Chat. Hopefully we'll have 2 OSE sort of hiccuped a bit lately. Gingerbeard didn't have time to run last weekend, and Gene was away, so we didn't end up not having an afternoon session. Hopefully we'll have 2 sessions this Saturday. So if you fancy some old school D&D with us lot, we are almost certainly going to be playing from about 2 o'clock UK time through to about 10 o'clock UK time, minus 5, 6, 7, 8 hours, whatever your time zone is. So I'll be running the later session, and it looks like Gene's going to be running the earlier one. Sadly, I won't be able to play in the afternoon one because I'm going to be busy at work, but I plan to run in the evening, which means I need to do some preparation. I need to do a bit of preparation. But
what? What's that?
What's that? Eh? What's that?
No idea what you're talking about, mate. Thought you
I think
improvised it all.
I've got to draw maps at least.
Right. Okay.
I might just take my maps to work and my OSE books to work on Friday. Won't have time on Saturday to do it though because I'm in the busy shop this week.
Yeah. Okay.
Joy.
How's training up the new guy going?
The new girl.
New girl, sorry.
She's going really well. The new guy has an issue. He'll never be more than just a fill-in at busy times. He can't do shifts of any more than about 3 or 4 hours.
Yeah, I remember you said
because he suffers from Crohn's, and it causes real problems. So, and he's when he was getting severe bouts of Crohn's every Saturday lunchtime, and we worked out it's because he'd be getting up early, cycling in, eating when he got to work, and then getting straight on with his shift. You can't do that when you've got a bad stomach condition. So we've decided he's not going to start when the shop opens. We're going to start him at lunchtime, give him a chance to get up, have a light breakfast, digest it, then cycle in. Then he'll be able to work for 4 or 5 hours without a problem.
Right. Okay.
We're happy to let him do that because as long as he's there, he doesn't need to do 8.5-hour shifts. As long as he's there for the busy periods, that's and he's aware of that. He knows that. So right, I think it's almost pumpkin hour. So chat, who's your favorite god from mythological stories? If you have one. A favorite do you have a favorite Norse god, Iman?
Odin.
You like Odin? Halakarlak Tharisdon from D&D. What is it about Odin that you like?
I'm familiar with him. I guess he's probably the first ever Norse god that I came to know of, which is probably what it is. The earliest, some of the earliest memories I have are of Odin being in Final Fantasy VII and Final Fantasy VIII. And he's one of those. He's basically what's called a summon, right? But he's a kind of summon that doesn't do damage. He just insta kills whoever you're fighting. Like he's that good.
Right. I mean, I will say. I mean, ever since I first read through Deities and Demigods when I was a kid,
yeah,
I was a big fan of Kali from the Indian mythos.
Oh, Grim just said that.
Kali.
Yeah.
Yes. I think I just think she's not the most powerful in there, but I just think she's awesome. And I do like the Aztecs, the Aztec deities. I think they're.
I don't know if this is actually in Norse mythology. It's definitely in Final Fantasy, but Odin has a horse called Sleipnir, which is 6-legged.
Yes.
Is that real?
8-legged.
Is it 8? It's 6 in here, but okay.
I thought Sleipnir was.
He's got 4 front legs and 2 back legs. Oh no, hang on. Yeah, no, 4 front legs, 2 back legs on here.
Ah. I always thought it was 8-legged.
I'm gonna check. Yeah.
Marduk. Yeah, I think Marduk's pretty cool. I like the art for Marduk as well. That bit, the king of the leader of the Babylonians.
Oh, this one has 8. Yeah, you're right. This is weird. They have a few different depictions. There's one with 4 front legs and 4 back legs. There's one with 6 front legs and 2 back legs. And there's one with 4 front legs and 2 back legs. This is just bizarre. No one can make their mind up how many legs he has. More legs than a normal horse, though. We can agree on that. Sleipnir.
I mean, all of the Central American mythos ones as well. All of the Central American mythos. Tlaloc is evil as hell. It's the fact that their gods are almost all very, very evil.
Oh shit! Apparently, in the new Final Fantasy VII remake, there's a boss fight with Odin. That'll be interesting. That'll be interesting. Which mythology has Gilgamesh as a demigod?
Babylonian, wasn't it?
Was it?
Yeah, he's in Babylonian. In Days and Demigods is in Babylonian. But he's Sumerian, wasn't he? So.
Oh no, Old Babylonian. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
He has stats in Dating the Demigods.
Right, so this is not going to make any sense in terms of real world mythology, but in Final Fantasy VIII, Odin got killed, and then Gilgamesh came down, took the weapon that Odin used, and used it to fucking murk the guy that killed Odin.
Yes, the Fafhrd and Grey Mouser ones. Yes, I like the way all the nuanced stuff is depicted in this book as well. It's
wait, Sleipnir is the child of Loki. What? What? Cannot unsee.
Isek of the Jug, yeah.
Yeah, right. I thought so, Hawkman. Yeah. Well,
Shilba
the
of
version
the
of Gilgamesh
Face.
that I'm aware of has 4 arms and a different weapon in each arm. But this is what video games do. Obviously, they take certain things and then they adapt them for video game purposes. So I don't know what's actually in the mythology and what is a video game thing that they did.
I'm just going to get rid of my background because it is crap with the background on when you've got. We're trying to show a picture, so let's get rid of virtual background. None. There we go. One of my favourite images in Deities and Demigods is that Lolth with the Drow Priestess on there.
Yeah,
I think that's great. Love that. Love that to bits. Loki was Sleipnir's mother.
you're laughing at Manfred.
No, Mark Hockman's there saying Loki was Sleipnir's mother.
Yeah, I mean, Seraphis didn't actually say it incorrectly. She said the child of Loki. She didn't specify which gender Loki was.
It doesn't mention it in Deities and Demigods. I always thought that while I like Deities and Demigods as a book to browse through, look at the pictures, I always felt I didn't need a list of the stats for them all. I wanted pictures and I wanted descriptions, and it was always a bit light on description, unfortunately. But
well,
hey,
what is Loki androgynous then, or?
No, not in here.
Right. Okay, that makes more sense, Mark. Okay.
But obviously, D&D version will differ from.
So was he some sort of shape-shifting hermaphrodite?
He could be whoever he wanted to be. Right.
Cerebus the Aardvark. Kind of androgynous and had a partner who was similarly androgynous. Well, that that would be a power couple, wouldn't it?
And there's Prometheus, the greater Titan, who had his liver it was his liver, not his kidney, his liver pecked out by a hawk.
Ooh.
But it was his liver.
Ooh.
I didn't want to correct Saxius in there in case I was wrong, but I always thought it was his liver. Yeah, perpetually regenerating liver.
Ouch. The liver's a large organ as well.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Right. That explains a bit. I mean, not that it makes sense, but it explains it.
It's how the Minotaur was created. Because wasn't Zeus in the form of a bull?
Perhaps.
I believe so. Yes, there were some very twisted stories about.
Did I say it wrong? I can't hear. Cerebus. Okay, yeah, I did say it wrong. Sorry, someone sent me a voice message correcting me.
Who?
Who do you think?
Manfred.
Yeah, do you know what? Yeah, I feel like they just needed to. They wouldn't have messed with humans so much if they got laid more regularly. Do you know what I mean?
Best picture in Deities and the Demigods. The Wild Hunt. That's magnificent. Jim Roslov didn't always get it right, but when he did, he did get dramatic.
Not to be confused with Cerberus.
Right. Anyway, we could waffle on. But I'm not going to waffle on too much tonight. We've done plenty of waffling.
Didn't he say it correctly?
But I don't need to go to bed tonight. Though it would be in my best interest with the wife to go to bed at a sensible time, because I don't want to be waking her up. I do clamber down the ladder out of the attic, but it's only 8:38 a.m.
Oh yeah, you're in Oz, aren't you, Grim? Yeah.
That's going to be West Coast. That's going to be West Coast for Australia, though, isn't it? If it's 8:38, that's going to be Perth. I'd have thought. Am I correct in saying Perth, Grim? Yep.
All right, nerd. I get it. Cerberus in Greek means spotted, so Hades' dog is named Spot. I guess, yeah, that makes sense.
Oh, South Australia. Okay. I thought the West Coast was 8 hours different, and Sydney was 10 hours different.
Aboriginal? I don't know. The abominable snowman?
That's not Aboriginal, you fool. It's the Aboriginal. It's the concept of the dream time. Is Aboriginal.
Oh, I'm getting confused.
You are very confused.
I know, I haven't even smoked yet.
Anyway, I'm going to end this stream in a moment. South Australia is not in the same territory. Yeah, okay. Yeah. I was assuming it would be Perth because of the time zone, but hey ho.
Oh, now I'm fucked up on pronunciation. Is that Yowie or Yowie?
I thought it'd be Yowie.
You guys have done this to me, I swear.
Anyway, I'm going to depart. So thank you for joining us on this stream chat. Thank you for joining from start to finish, Iman. And of course we had Saxius and Daniel and Bear. Did anybody else join us tonight?
No, that was it. That was it, yeah.
That was it, yeah. But thank you, chat. Thank you, everybody in chat, for chiming in, for giving us your 2 pence worth. As I say,
thanks for giving me a new title.
A new title, yes, The Myth. As I said, you are welcome to come to the Discord and play some OSE with various fine chaps this weekend. I will be running the evening game, which will start about 7 o'clock UK time, which is, you have to do your own calculations.
I hope you had fun in the last one, Piglet, and feel free to join us again.
Yeah, feel free to join us, because we had Straw Piglet join us in one of the games recently, and we had You're Wrong join in another game recently. Nice to have new players coming along.
And Andy as well, relatively new still.
Well, he's been playing Call of Cthulhu with us for a little while.
OSE, I mean.
Yeah. But yeah, we're going to be OSEing this Saturday. So if any of you want to OSE, it's very quick to make a character. It's drop in, drop out, do whatever you want. No stress, just old school fun. That's all we care about.
6 times 3d6, and that's it.
Basically. Yeah, 6 times 3d6, and off you go. Make a character and play. And it doesn't matter. And we're not sticklers for role play or anything like that.
I only started a year and a half ago. If I could fucking do it, anyone can do it. So
yeah, well, the whole point of OSE on a Saturday is that the game is a chill game. You get out of it whatever you want to get out of it. You put into it whatever you want to put into it. No one cares. No one minds. So it's designed to be very, very lax and very easygoing.
Mr. Mohammed Goldstein, will you be joining us as well?
Well, Andy Mohammed Goldstein, yes. Probably the least politically correct character name we've had so far.
He's literally a walking contradiction. I like it.
He is, yes, absolutely. And he's intended to be. He's taking the piss. Right. Anyway, thank you all. Thank you for joining us. I'm going to depart now and say good night.
Good night, everybody. Take care.